This was definitely the most humiliating moment in Manager Kim's life. He was once the strongest retired Special Forces soldier in the world. Wanted posters of him had been plastered all across the globe. But now, for the sake of his daughter, he had to hide his identity and kneel in humiliation. He was forced to apologize to the female bully who had twisted the truth against them. That was because the bully's father was Ju Gun-sol, a chaebol with terrifying power. Even though Ju Hye-ri was the one who attacked his daughter first, all the blame was pushed onto the real victim, Kim Min-ji. To keep the situation from getting worse, Manager Kim could only lower himself and beg the bully to forgive his daughter. Falsely accused and heartbroken, Kim Min-ji looked at her powerless father and wondered why he had even brought her into this world. Those words cut through Manager Kim like a knife. Kim Min-ji did not want to see her father for a while, so she decided to stay at her friend Hae Ryong's house. But before she could even get there, Ju Hae-ri blocked her path again. Without saying a word, she slapped Kim Min-ji hard across the face. Kim Min-ji refused to take it and fought back on the spot. But Ju Hae-ri's lover boy kicked her away. His name was Song Min-ho, and he had just joined a small gang. To win Ju Hae-ri's favor, Song Min-ho started beating Kim Min-ji viciously. Ju Hae-ri even joined in, grabbing a sharp stone and smashing it down on Kim Min-ji as blood splattered everywhere. When Song Min-ho finally snapped back to reality, he completely froze. Afraid of taking responsibility, he quickly ordered everyone not to call the police. He also threatened them, saying everyone there was now an accomplice. As for him, he would ask his gang boss for help. But since he had only just joined the gang, he had no real influence at all. In the end, Ju Hae-ri snatched the phone from him. Once she revealed that her father was Ju Gun-sol, the other side finally agreed to clean up the mess. Meanwhile, her father, who had cooked dinner and was waiting for her to come home, had no idea she had already been stuffed into a trunk. The driver mocked them, saying they normally did not handle cases like this, and only made an exception because of Ju Hae-ri's special background. As for payment, they would collect it privately from Ju Gun-sol. But no one inside the car noticed that Kim Min-ji's fingers suddenly twitched inside the trunk. After waiting all night with no sign of his daughter, Manager Kim could only get ready for work. But a crowd had gathered by the roadside, whispering among themselves. There was a large patch of dried blood in the alley. At first, Manager Kim paid it no attention, but then he looked down and saw a hair accessory. It was clearly the one Ju Hae-ri had been wearing yesterday. He immediately called Ju Hae-ri, and after confirming that she was not with Min-ji, Manager Kim's veins bulged with rage. Song Min-ho was still thinking about hiding at home until things calmed down. But Manager Kim suddenly appeared before him and said he had some questions about Min-ji. Startled, Song Min-ho turned around and tried to attack, but when he saw Ju Hae-ri trembling in fear, he no longer dared to cause more trouble and only wanted Manager Kim to leave. But Manager Kim had to confirm whether Ju Hae-ri was really the owner of that hair accessory. Furious, Song Min-ho suddenly used all his strength. He tried to lift Manager Kim up by force. But Manager Kim did not move an inch, so Song Min-ho took off his jacket and prepared to go all out. Manager Kim simply watched him with cold eyes. Song Min-ho pushed with everything he had, but all he managed to do was tear open Manager Kim's shirt. In the next second, his torn shirt revealed a body covered in knife scars and bullet wounds. For a man who had spent his entire life surviving battlefields, dealing with trash like Song Min-ho was child's play. Right now, Manager Kim only wanted one answer. Where was Min-ji? After witnessing everything, Ju Hae-ri collapsed to the floor in terror. But Song Min-ho really did not know where the drivers had gone. They could only contact each other through the gang boss. Then Manager Kim needed to know where that boss was. Meanwhile, the small-time gang boss Oh Mun-chol was violently collecting illegal loan debt. At that moment, the arrogant thug had no idea that death had already arrived at his door. The front door of the house was no obstacle for Manager Kim. A passing underling glared at him and shouted that he was trespassing. But after one muffled groan, the underling's voice stopped instantly, and a loud crash came from the room where Oh Mun-chol was hiding. Oh Mun-chol immediately signaled his men to get their baseball bats ready. The victim's daughter quickly shouted for him to watch out, because one of the men was swinging an iron bat straight at the doorway. But he only ended up hitting his own ally. Manager Kim tossed aside the body he used as cover and rushed in. In an instant, he took down the man holding the iron bat. Then he pulled a rope from inside his coat. Using the chandelier, he hoisted the fat man into the air. Manager Kim asked again, "Where was Minji?" Realizing things were going badly, Oh Munchol turned and tried to run. He still thought Manager Kim was a cop. While he was desperately thinking of a way out, he suddenly tripped over a thin line on the floor. Oh Munchol was about to curse whoever had placed a line there, but when he looked up, he realized the entire area had already been sealed off with wires. Then a rope slipped around his neck. After being beaten senseless, Oh Munchol screamed in terror that he really knew nothing. He had only contacted those people through an anonymous chat room, and without an invitation, he could not reach them first. Once the conversation ended, the chat room would immediately be deleted. Those people only agreed to help because they learned the matter was connected to Jugun Seoul. So Manager Kim simply snapped Oh Munchol's wrist. Oh Munchol yelled that what Manager Kim was doing was illegal in South Korea. Manager Kim fired back. Wasn't illegal loan sharking a crime too? Hearing that, Oh Munchol laughed and said he was still a minor. Even if he broke the law, the system would go easy on juvenile offenders like him. Manager Kim looked at this hopeless piece of trash. Then he threw away the fake documents inside his briefcase. In the next second, he revealed a state-of-the-art firearm. People who lose their parents are called orphans. People who lose their husbands are called widows. But parents who lose their children have no special name, because their tragedy leaves them with nothing else to lose. Manager Kim coldly praised him, saying juvenile offender was a pretty convenient excuse. Then he pressed the gun between Oh Munchol's legs. If this kid wanted to hide behind the law as a juvenile offender, then Manager Kim would become a lawless adult. The moment Oh Munchol saw the gun, he burst into tears. But Manager Kim did not care. With a single gunshot, Oh Munchol collapsed to the floor, screaming in pain. The only reason Manager Kim kept him alive was because he still believed Minji was not dead. Otherwise, everyone connected to this incident would already be finished. His fists would arrive before the law ever could. Anyone who dared touch Minji would never escape Manager Kim, no matter who they were. Just then, Oh Munchol's phone rang again. The organization that had taken Minji had opened an anonymous chat room. But after Manager Kim saw the message confirming her death, his briefcase slipped from his hand and fell to the floor. He silently wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. Then, the bald man who sent the message received a call. The slicked-back man immediately sensed something was wrong, because Oh Munchol always gave a heads-up before calling. So, he told the bald man not to answer. The caller was probably the police, and they needed to delete the chat room at once. For now, they should ignore every call from the gang. To be safe, they even needed to throw away their phones. Manager Kim questioned Oh Munchol, asking why the chat room had gone silent again. Oh Munchol quickly explained that he could not do anything, because the other side had destroyed it. Burning with rage, Manager Kim told him to shut up. Just then, someone suddenly thrust a knife at Manager Kim. Shockingly, the attacker was the loan shark victim. He only did it so Oh Munchol would reduce his debt. Oh Munchol immediately told him to stab Manager Kim a few more times, but Manager Kim had already trapped the blade under his arm. And now, it was Oh Munchol's turn. Just then, the police suddenly rushed in and yelled for everyone to freeze. Manager Kim was forced to stop what he was doing. Everyone at the scene was taken to the police station. The gang members immediately started accusing Manager Kim of everything. But when the officer scanned Manager Kim's fingerprints to pull up his personal file, he saw a restricted file for the first time. After working as a police officer for so long, he had never seen anything like it. The fat man became fearless now that the police were around. He started beating Manager Kim without holding back. Officers Chan Sang and Bong Hoon told him not to make a scene. After all, they were special recruits and former Asian Games judo competitors. Just then, Manager Kim's phone suddenly started ringing as the two officers helped him up. When the officer said the caller ID showed "my daughter," Manager Kim's entire body trembled. The officers holding him suddenly realized his handcuffs had somehow been unlocked. When the officer holding the phone turned around, he saw a shocking sight. Everyone in the station had silently collapsed. Even Chan Sang and Bong Hoon were no exception. He had no idea what had just happened. In the next second, Manager Kim pinned him down. In just a few seconds, the only sound left in the room was the ringing phone. Manager Kim answered the call and asked in a trembling voice if it was Minji, but no sound came from the phone. Then the call was suddenly cut off. Manager Kim called back several times, but no one answered. until the automated voice finally said the phone had been turned off. Manager Kim immediately rushed out of the police station. He had already made up his mind. The next day, the police chief angrily demanded to know how an entire precinct had been taken down by one man. If the public found out, they would be completely humiliated. Just then, a man suddenly appeared and slapped the police chief across the face. The man was Kang Guk-chol, director of the National Special Service Agency. With one word from him, the local police chief could lose his job. The reason the agency had appeared here was because the fingerprints of Code 66 had surfaced last night. His men were currently tracking the locations of Code 66 and his daughter. The director thought the cautious number 66 would have thrown away his phone immediately. But the map showed that he was still moving, and his current location was a taekwondo gym. Manager Kim had come here to find an old friend. National representative and taekwondo gold medalist Son Han-soo knew that if Manager Kim had come to him personally, this was no ordinary situation. Manager Kim explained what had happened. Right now, his daughter's life was still uncertain. And because he was waiting for her call, he did not dare throw away his phone. Hearing this, Son Han-soo immediately realized that the National Special Service Agency must already be on their way. Manager Kim felt truly sorry, because he had no choice but to ask Son Han-soo for help. Son Han-soo broke into a nervous sweat and swallowed hard. After all, Manager Kim had once saved his son, Son Tae-hoon, when the boy had nearly died. So this time, he would treat it as repaying that debt. Besides, Son Han-soo understood exactly how it felt to almost lose a child. With that decided, he first dismissed the children from class and sent them home. But at that moment, Kang Guk-chol had already grabbed one of the kids. Almost instantly, Son Han-soo's fret kick slammed into Kang Guk-chol. Kang Guk-chol recognized it as taekwondo, but with taekwondo, once your leg gets caught, it is all over. Son Han-soo launched himself into the air. With one spinning kick, he sent Kang Guk-chol crashing to the ground. He even caught the rice cake the child had dropped. Then, Son Han-soo gently told the boy to go home early today. Manager Kim blocked Kang Guk-chol's sneak punch. And Kang Guk-chol, who had finally found Code 66, looked extremely excited. Son Han-soo kicked again. More and more agents rushed after them, but against Son Han-soo, they had no chance to fight back. One of the agents recognized him. After all, he was a legendary figure in the taekwondo world. A monster like him had no business appearing in a place this small. While running, Son Han-soo suddenly thought of the old days and asked Manager Kim what he needed. Manager Kim only gave him one answer: a base. Not long after, a custom truck burst out from underground. Even after all these years, Manager Kim still remembered how to use the equipment. By adjusting the frequency and accessing the base station, he could track Minji's phone signal. Son Han-soo wondered if Manager Kim had finally lost his mind. Because they had arrived at a delinquent school called Mabok High School, the gang vice boss guarding the gate frowned and asked who these two old men were. Today was the meeting day for the 4 major gangs of Southern Gyeonggi, so he told all outsiders to get lost. But Manager Kim completely ignored him and walked straight toward the exact location of the phone signal. The ignored vice boss was about to start trouble, but Manager Kim took him down with a shoulder throw. Then, he gave them his daughter's information and asked if anyone there had seen her. If not, then they should stay out of his way. At that moment, the 4 major gangs of Southern Gyeonggi were holding a strategy meeting about expanding into Seoul. They had no time to care about what was happening outside. Even when the entire school rushed at him together, they still could not stop Manager Kim. With one punch, he can send several people flying. The people from Yasan schools simply watched from the side. Son Han-soo politely asked if anyone knew Kim Min-ji, but a hand quietly reached toward him, trying to grab him. Son Han-soo countered with a back kick and instantly knocked the guy away. He honestly had not wanted to fight, because when he saw these kids, he could not help thinking about his own son, Son Tae-hoon, who was also going through his rebellious phase. When one of them charged with a knife, Son Han-soo kindly warned him that holding it that way would hurt his hand. Then with one simple jump, he seemed to fly into the air. The vice boss from Asan Technical High School rushed in with an axe, fearless after his legendary 3 days in juvenile detention. But an axe was clearly crossing the line, and Son Han-soo did not recommend children playing with dangerous toys like that. Meanwhile, Manager Kim had already fought his way near the phone signal. A delinquent standing in front of the teacher's office sneered that if he went inside, he would really die. But Manager Kim did not care at all. He smashed through the crowd, and forced his way into the teacher's office. The delinquent he was holding as a guide cried out that the place he was looking for was right here, and begged Manager Kim to let him go. The vice boss of Mabok High School demanded to know if Manager Kim was the one causing all that noise outside. He was no pushover either, since he came from the Juvenile Detention Boxing Club. But Manager Kim casually raised one hand and blocked his punch. Then came a brutal storm of counterattacks. Manager Kim told the vice boss to stop talking and lead the way. The vice boss was smashed straight into the meeting room where the gang leaders were gathered. Manager Kim followed behind him, radiating an icy killing intent. His eyes quickly scanned the entire room. Then, on the gang coordinator, a boxer with a terrifying record. He saw Minji's phone. The other gang leaders tried to move, but Manager Kim kicked one of them straight into the floor. He coldly questioned the gang coordinator. "Where did you get that phone?" The coordinator looked at the photo on the phone. He seemed to remember something. Then he smirked and said that girl was the one from last night, and she had been fun to mess with. In the next second, Manager Kim beat the coordinator until his face swelled beyond recognition, leaving him completely blind. But Manager Kim still did not stop. Son Han-soo quickly held him back. If this continued, the kid would die, and he was probably just running his mouth anyway. Manager Kim asked again, "Did you see my daughter or not?" After being completely broken, the coordinator burst into tears. He honestly confessed that he had only gotten the phone through an illegal trade. Because Kim Min-ji looked pretty in the photo, he had glanced at it a few more times. When they saw that the only person in her call history was Dad, they even mocked her for being a daddy's girl. But the coordinator had accidentally called Manager Kim. When Manager Kim heard that Minji only had Dad in her call history, he froze. Did Kim Minji really not have a single friend? But she had clearly said Hyeon was her best friend. With a terrible feeling in his chest, Manager Kim opened Hyeon's chat. He saw that under the guise of friendship, Hyeon had been treating Minji like her personal errand girl. She always claimed that her phone was out of battery. Then she tricked Minji into lending her phone. But behind Minji's back, she mocked her heart-themed color settings for being ugly. Yet, Minji had always treated Hyeon like a real friend. Manager Kim regretted not noticing sooner. Before this, he had even gotten angry because his daughter kept missing his calls. Back then, he should have easily noticed how panicked Minji looked every time she claimed she simply had not seen his call. Manager Kim could not imagine how painful his daughter's school life must have been. Son Han-soo reminded him to pull himself together, because now was not the time for regret. They needed to find Minji first, then apologize to her in person. No matter how much pain they carried, fathers did not fall that easily, because they were still their children's parents. Manager Kim also realized this was not the time to hang his head. So he questioned the coordinator again. "Where exactly did you pick up this phone?" Not long after, in front of a homeless man who was picking his toes while drinking, two middle-aged men suddenly appeared. Manager Kim asked him where he had stolen the phone from. The coordinator's underling had traded a bottle of soju with the homeless man for the phone. And if the phone was stolen, that would be possession of stolen property. Seeing that he was about to be dragged to the police station, the homeless man quickly said he had really just picked it up. At the time, he had seen someone secretly throwing something away. After those people left, he searched through it and found the valuable items. That was when the coordinator's underling discovered him. After listening to the homeless man's description, Manager Kim realized he had finally found the people who took Minji. As long as the homeless man remembered the license plate number, Manager Kim could dig them up within 5 minutes. Manager Kim finally got a lead on his daughter from the homeless man. The people who took her had passed through this intersection. He immediately used the base equipment to hack into the road system and gain access to every intersection camera. Next, all he had to do was hack into the vehicle lookup system, and he would be able to locate that car. Meanwhile, the slicked-back man arrived at the dock. They began dealing with the body in the trunk. They stuffed Minji into a sack and threw her into a warehouse. Next, the slicked-back man planned to extort a huge sum from Ju Gun-sol. After all, Ju Gun-sol was the one who had knocked out all his teeth, so he was determined to get revenge. Just then, a dock security guard discovered these unwanted visitors. With the situation about to be exposed, the bald man stabbed the guard without hesitation. Then, they threw the guard's body into the cold storage as well. But inside the sack holding Minji, a handprint suddenly pressed against the fabric. At that moment, Manager Kim was staring intensely at the vehicle search progress bar. Just as the search was about to finish loading, a car suddenly sped out and charged straight at Manager Kim at full speed. right before the vehicle flipped over. Manager Kim saw the target vehicle's location. It was the dock where his daughter was being held. After stopping Manager Kim's car, Kang Gup-chul, the director of the National Special Service Agency, was already eager to end him. Song Han-soo quickly stopped Manager Kim from killing Kang Gup-chul. Soon, Song Han-soo raised both hands and surrendered. After all, if Manager Kim killed a public official, the entire situation would spiral out of control. Kang Gup-chul was still demanding to know where Manager Kim had gone. In the next second, the car behind Song Han-soo suddenly exploded. Manager Kim used the distraction to escape. He jumped straight off the bridge and headed toward the dock 9 kilometers away. Kang Gup-chul could not understand what trick Song Han-soo was trying to pull. Did he really think Kang Gup-chul would not shoot? But Song Han-soo simply told him to try. The moment the gunshot rang out, Song Han-soo instantly turned and dodged. Then he kicked Kang Gup-chul away. Song Han-soo did not expect him to actually fire. The first shot had only been a blank, but now Kang Gup-chul was firing real bullets. Song Han-soo moved with incredible agility, constantly dodging the shots. Then, during the brief opening, when Kang Gup-chul reloaded, Song Han-soo leaped into the air. With a brutal axe kick, he came crashing down toward Kang Gup-chul. Kang Gup-chul dodged the attack and immediately raised his gun to fire. But Song Han-soo kicked the pistol out of his hand. Kang Gup-chul reacted fast and drew a knife. But Song Han-soo still countered his attack with ease. Reinforcements from the Special Service Agency were about to arrive. Song Han-soo could not waste any more time. He shot forward with unbelievable speed. Kang Gup-chul thought it was a backspinning kick, but from that distance, there was no way it could land. He was sure Song Han-soo had made a mistake. But the moment that thought appeared, Kang Gup-chul suddenly saw Song Han-soo begin to spin. Spinning 3 full times in midair was not something practice alone could achieve. Song Han-soo had a talent no one else could match. And it was not just 3 spins. He rotated a full 1440 degrees in the air. Kang Gup-chul was knocked unconscious by that single attack. Seeing that the Special Service Agency reinforcements had arrived, Song Han-soo chose to jump off the bridge along with the ambulance. Meanwhile, Manager Kim had already reached the dock, and the target vehicle was indeed there. There were also bloodstains leading deeper inside. Minji, who had finally woken up, was desperately searching for a way out. But the cold storage had already been completely sealed. Just then, someone walked into the cold storage. Minji prayed that it was her father. But the cruel reality was that the slicked-back man had come in to take photos. He wanted to photograph Minji's body and use it to threaten Ju Gun-sul, but Ju Gun-sul happened to call at that exact moment. Ju Gun-sul said he wanted to meet and talk. But the slicked-back man snapped, asking how he dared talk to him like that. He ordered Ju Gun-sul to prepare 2 billion won in cash within 1 hour and come to the designated place alone. He was not allowed to bring the police or the planning director. Otherwise, his daughter would carry the label of murderer for the rest of her life. The slicked-back man wanted to curse him a few more times, but because the signal was terrible, the call suddenly cut off. Ju Gun-sul comforted his daughter and told her it was fine. Their family was not ordinary, and they would not be taken down so easily. The eldest daughter of the Ju family had to show the dignity of an eldest daughter. After all, the ocean would never be soaked by rain. Then Ju Gun-sul turned around and told Chief Nam to prepare 500 million won in cash, along with a pair of pliers. The slicked-back man looked at the disconnected call and cursed this damn place for having such awful signal. But when he looked down, he suddenly saw the person who should have been dead, staring right at him. After being discovered, Minji immediately shut the cold storage door. The slicked-back man rammed into the door, only to realize it would not open. He quickly called his underling, Big Guy. But Big Guy no longer had a chance to answer, because Manager Kim had found this place. Big Guy sneered and asked who this old man was. Manager Kim simply took out his daughter's phone. Meanwhile, as the slicked-back man kept calling Big Guy, he suddenly received a call from the reinforcements. They said the secret weapon, Kang Moon, was ready. The slicked-back man told them to check Big Guy's office and see what happened. As for Kang Moon, he was to come straight to the cold storage. Big Guy's phone kept ringing. When the reinforcements arrived, they realized the place had clearly been raided, but Big Guy was not inside. While Manager Kim was hunting down the other underlings, he had hidden inside a car. But that was useless. Manager Kim only poked the car door with a wire, and it opened right away. Terrified, Big Guy quickly shouted, The owner of the phone was inside the cold storage. Because Ju Gun-sol said she had to be shipped to Japan, they had frozen the body first. Just then, the reinforcements tried to ambush Manager Kim from behind. In the next second, Manager Kim beat them all into the ground. Big Guy secretly used the chance to slip away. He suddenly yanked a truck driver out of his seat while the poor guy was eating a burger. Big Guy jumped into the truck and tried to escape. After finishing off the underlings, Manager Kim leaped onto a container. He quickly caught up to the truck that had just started moving. Big Guy was stunned because Manager Kim actually jumped straight toward him and kicked straight at him in the driver's seat. The truck instantly lost control and rushed straight toward the sea. The truck driver was on the verge of tears and was just about to call the police. But Manager Kim had already dragged Big Guy back to shore. No one who messed with his daughter would escape. Now Manager Kim needed to know where the cold storage was. Minji was trembling from the cold, her entire body freezing. She was almost at her limit. And the slicked-back man was still waiting outside like a predator. At the same time, Ju Gun-sol was also ready. Under Chief Nam's command, every car except car number 1 was sent ahead to wait at the destination. From this moment on, every order would be decided by Chief Nam. Team leader Han, who was driving, did not understand the operation. Was it really necessary to send Chief Nam? If they were only dealing with street thugs, he could handle it himself. Ju Gun-sol knew the slicked-back man was clever, but not truly powerful. However, the strongest person was always the one who survived until the end. There was an urban legend about people taking orphans and raising them into emotionless monsters, and a few dangerous ones had already entered society. That was why the situation was extremely serious, and Chief Nam had to step in personally. By now, Big Guy had already brought Manager Kim to the cold storage. Seeing Big Guy covered in wounds, the slicked-back man asked what had happened. Why had he not answered the phone? Had he betrayed him and teamed up with Ju Gun-sol? The slicked-back man never trusted anyone, so he stabbed Big Guy without hesitation. Looking at Manager Kim's dark expression, the slicked-back man asked if he had also been sent by Ju Gun-sol. Manager Kim only wanted to know where Minji was. The moment he threw out his rope, the secret weapon, Kang Moon, arrived just in time. Since Kang Moon was holding a knife, Manager Kim would not treat him like an ordinary street thug. Kang Moon thrust 2 fingers straight toward Manager Kim's eyes. In the next second, the sound of flesh tearing rang out. Against a monster who had been brainwashed and raised this way since childhood, only the side ready to die could win. After pulling back, Kang Moon silently stared at his 2 broken fingers. Manager Kim was curious. Was this guy connected to his daughter too? Kang Moon asked back if Manager Kim was Ju Gun-sol. The slicked-back man explained from the side that Manager Kim was the bad man bullying his dad. It turned out Kang Moon was the slicked-back man's son. In that case, he would make Manager Kim pay for bullying his father. The crosslock formed instantly, but to Kang Moon's shock, Manager Kim twisted and broke his own arm on purpose. A man who had survived countless battles could set his arm back in place with a single motion. Manager Kim cut Kang Moon off and told him to stop talking. More importantly, he was not allowed to insult the word father. Kang Moon was trapped tightly in the crosslock. If he kept struggling, his leg would be ruined for good. But the slicked-back man suddenly attacked Manager Kim. Kang Moon used that chance to break free. Using his identity as Kang Moon's father, the slicked-back man warned him that if he felt like he was losing, then even if he had to bite his opponent's neck, he had to kill him. In the next second, Kang Moon shoved the slicked-back man aside and dodged Manager Kim's attack. He understood what his father meant. In that case, he just had to kill Manager Kim. But Manager Kim had never intended to kill Kang Moon because he looked about the same age as Minji. Manager Kim did not know what Kang Moon had been through, but no real father would ever sacrifice his own child, unless he was nothing more than a beast. It turned out Kang Moon was an orphan the slicked-back man had bought. Because he was an orphan, even if he killed someone, the police would have a hard time tracing it back to the buyer. As long as the slicked-back man called himself his father, Kang Moon would obediently follow his orders, because he was a child desperate for love. Every time the slicked-back man showed him a photo of someone who had wronged him, Kang Moon would take revenge for him. He was the slicked-back man's personal wild dog. While trapped, Kang Moon bit hard into Manager Kim's leg. But in the end, he still passed out from lack of air. Manager Kim walked toward the cold storage without looking back. But Kang Moon actually stood up again. At that moment, Minji was still trembling inside the cold storage. If this continued, she would truly freeze to death. She remembered her father once saying that a parent's dignity came from their child and that she was his pride. So, Minji made up her mind. If she was going to die in despair, she might as well risk it all. The slicked-back man was still wondering where Kang Moon and Manager Kim had gone. But when he turned around, he suddenly realized the cold storage door was open. Looking at Minji, clumsily pretending to be a corpse, the slicked-back man could not help but smile. Meanwhile, seeing Kang Moon stand up again, Manager Kim wondered if he really was just a wild dog. If Manager Kim had known his daughter was still alive, someone like Kang Moon, who stood between him and saving her, would have died 10 times over. But Kang Moon told Manager Kim to hurry up and kill him. After all, since he had failed his mission, his father would kill him anyway. Manager Kim told Kang Moon to stop saying nonsense. How could a real father ever want to kill his own child? A true family would never do something like that. The reason Manager Kim chose not to kill Kang Moon was also because he was around the same age as his daughter. That was what real family meant. Kang Moon finally realized something. So that was what a real family looked like. However, Chief Nam had already appeared silently behind Kang Moon. After easily dealing with the top target, he immediately headed toward the real destination. Meanwhile, inside the cold storage, the slicked-back man looked at Minji playing dead and raised his knife to stab her. But he completely failed to notice someone standing behind him, holding a rotten fish, frozen harder than stone. Minji seized the chance and launched a surprise attack. She smashed it hard into the slicked-back man's head. She knew she could do it. After all, whose daughter did he think she was? Manager Kim arrived one step too late and only saw the security guard's body and the unconscious slicked-back man. With his sharp eyes, he noticed writing on the floor. It was a cry for help. Minji had frantically scribbled out of fear. Manager Kim recognized his daughter's handwriting immediately. He never expected that Minji was still alive. Then who was the real culprit who thought Minji was dead and tried to cover up the crime, combining everything with the name Ju Gun-sul, which had kept appearing again and again? Manager Kim had already guessed who the culprit was, and he would never let him go. But right now, the most important thing was finding Minji first. After confirming that Manager Kim had left, the slicked-back man inside the cold storage suddenly opened his eyes. He cursed Kang Moon for being a useless piece of trash. Just then, the cold storage door was closed again. Big Guy looked at the slicked-back man one last time, then completely blocked the cold storage door. The slicked-back man quickly said everything that happened earlier was just a misunderstanding. But no matter what he said, Big Guy ignored him. Behind the door, the slicked-back man kicked the cold storage door like crazy. Unexpectedly, the door actually opened. But the slicked-back man was completely stunned, because the person who entered was Chief Nam, holding a pair of pliers. Now, it was time to settle the score properly. Chief Nam ordered the slicked-back man to open his mouth. Meanwhile, Manager Kim was desperately calling for his daughter in the heavy rain. Minji heard a faint voice and thought she was hallucinating, because there was no way her father could be here. The pouring rain blocked the sound from reaching her clearly. Manager Kim quickly jumped onto a container. As he shouted, he looked around desperately, trying to find his daughter. And, just like that, father and daughter perfectly missed each other. Manager Kim finally saw his daughter, but she had just climbed over the fence and reached the road. No matter how hard Manager Kim shouted, his voice could not reach her. Minji waved at the cars on the road, hoping someone would help her. But all she got was a splash of muddy water. After all, to the drivers, this situation looked far too much like a scam. Manager Kim was sprinting toward the road at full speed. At the same time, all of the slicked-back man's teeth had already been pulled out. Chief Nam asked if they should handle him the same way as before. It turned out the slicked-back man had once worked for a small, underground manpower agency run by a construction firm, mainly handling cleanup work in demolition zones. One night, his supervisor suddenly called him out and pushed him off a building that would bring in huge money once it was demolished. The slicked-back man had been nothing more than a disposable pawn. The next day, the news loudly reported that a tragic fall had occurred at an old, poorly maintained building. However, the slicked-back man somehow survived. Burning with rage, he killed the supervisor who had tried to murder him. Then he took over that man's position. It was at that time that the mastermind behind everything, Ju Gun-sul, came to see him. They both knew the other was no decent person, and the moment they met, the atmosphere turned ice cold. Ju Gun-sol suddenly asked the slicked-back man if he knew how to tame a vicious dog. He once kept a large, fierce dog in a countryside yard, and the process of taming it was actually very simple. Then all of the slicked-back man's people were beaten down, and every tooth in his mouth was knocked out. Ju Gun-sol's method for taming a vicious dog was to make it bite freshly boiled potatoes and radishes. Once all of the dog's teeth fell out, it would no longer dare act wild, and would obediently listen. From that day on, the slicked-back man completely submitted to Ju Gun-sol and lived like a dog. If Ju Gun-sol told him to kill, he had to kill. If Ju Gun-sol told him to crawl, he had no choice but to crawl. Although the slicked-back man had made an unforgivable mistake this time, Ju Gun-sol still thought he had some use left. The only way for him to survive was to take the fall for Minji's supposed death, along with the murders of Ju Gun-sol's political enemies. The slicked-back man finally could not hold it in anymore and laughed. Resigned to his fate, he simply asked for a cigarette. Then he suddenly asked Chief Nam if he knew what life tasted like. Women might say life was sweet or bitter, but a man's life, of course, tasted like blood. Chief Nam suddenly realized something was wrong and urgently ordered his men to stop him. The slicked-back man was biting his own tongue, but it was already too late. The slicked-back man told Chief Nam that the girl was still alive, and they were all finished because that girl's father would never let them go. Chief Nam realized they had to move immediately. That girl could not be allowed to stay alive, and her father had to be dealt with too. At that moment, Manager Kim rushed onto the road, only to find that the place was already empty. Minji had gotten into someone else's car. Chief Nam suddenly received an unexpected report. Car number 1 had already driven away from the dock. Even team leader Han, who was driving, couldn't help but marvel at how crazy the world was. Who would have thought Minji would get into Ju Gun-sol's car by herself? Things were becoming more and more interesting. Ju Gun-sol told team leader Han to bring the girl home, clean her up, and send her to his room. Manager Kim no longer had time to hesitate. He had to begin his next move and start the chase immediately. Manager Kim called someone to confirm one thing. Your license to kill has not expired yet, right? A license to kill was a special privilege granted by the nation, allowing a person to kill without punishment under necessary circumstances. Sung Han-soo told Manager Kim to get in the car first. After briefly explaining the situation, Sung Han-soo decided they had to leave immediately because those people would catch up soon. At that moment, Kang Guk-chul also woke up by the riverbank. His subordinate reported bad news. Sung Han-soo had used the money in Kang Guk-chul's wallet to buy an electric scooter, and had also taken repair money for his own truck. Only after the subordinate paid off the remaining costs did they finally get Kang Guk-chul's clothes back. Sung Han-soo was still acting this relaxed while running away, and the furious Kang Guk-chul swore he would catch them. Not long after, at the Ju family villa, Ju Gun-sol had already cleaned himself up. Chief Nam was also on his way back. After Minji washed up, she was brought to Ju Gun-sol's room. Ju Gun-sol asked if she had been through a lot, since she had fallen asleep as soon as she got in the car. Minji said her memories were a little blurry. When she woke up, she found herself inside the cold storage. As for what happened yesterday, she did not remember much. In that case, Ju Gun-sol asked if she remembered anything from inside the cold storage. Did that bearded man say anything to you? Minji said she was too focused on escaping back then and did not hear anything clearly. In that case, Ju Gun-sol pretended to care about Minji and said his daughter might be a little impulsive, but she was still kind at heart, so he hoped Minji would not hate her too much. Minji could feel that Ju Gun-sol truly loved Ju Hae-ri because she was his only daughter. No matter what Ju Hae-ri did, Ju Gun-sol would clean it up for her. That was what parents were. No matter how terrible the crime their child committed, they would still choose to forgive them and protect the family with their lives, because that was a parent's duty. Seeing Minji break into a cold sweat, Ju Gun-sol suddenly asked if she had remembered something. If her memory still had not returned, then this time, he would be the one asking the questions. My daughter tried to kill you. So what exactly should I do now? How long do you think you can keep faking amnesia? From the moment you faked sleeping in the car, I knew you knew more than you let on. With that, Ju Gun-sol ordered Team Leader Han to dispose of Minji. Team Leader Han immediately pulled out some kind of drug from his coat. But the moment Minji's tears hit the floor, the villa's doorbell suddenly rang. Kang Guk-chul had tracked Ju Gun-sol's car through the dock surveillance footage and found this place. Since no one answered the doorbell, he simply drove straight through the gate. The villa guards angrily demanded to know who they were. This was private property, so they had better get out immediately. But one gunshot instantly shut the guards up. Kang Kuk-chul was still acting under the authority of a government official, and if anyone dared make a wrong move, he would shoot immediately. Kang Kuk-chul forced his way into the villa and began a search under the name of the National Special Service Agency. Ju Gun-sol calmly said he was acquainted with Kang Kuk-chul's vice minister. Kang Kuk-chul cut him off directly. Right now, this was the Special Service Agency breaking in by force, and seeing Ju Gun-sol stay so calm only made Kang Kuk-chul even more irritated. As expected, his men found no one upstairs, but Kang Kuk-chul was not panicking at all, because the elite specialists of the agency were already on their way here. They were the experts known as Hexagram. Kang Kuk-chul told Ju Gun-sol to prepare for the end. But outside the villa, Chief Nam was already waiting in full readiness, blocking Hexagram's path. The one-eyed man shouted at him to get out of the way, but Chief Nam sent him flying with a single punch. The blonde man tried to keep fighting. He was also dropped with one punch. The area ahead was private property, and Chief Nam would not allow anyone inside. Hearing this, veins bulged on the white-haired leader's forehead. Ju Gun-sol suddenly questioned Kang Kuk-chul for barging in without even a search warrant. But Kang Kuk-chul was fearless and considered it just a matter of procedure. Then the white-haired man suddenly entered the room. Kang Kuk-chul was just about to greet him, but then he realized the white-haired man had been thrown inside. Hexagram had already been completely wiped out. Kang Kuk-chul could not believe it. How had Chief Nam done this? Kang Kuk-chul might be fearless, but Ju Gun-sol was just as unshaken. Meanwhile, Manager Kim and Sun Han-soo were still thinking about how to rescue Minji. Manager Kim grabbed a handful of dirt. No matter how they moved, the result would be the same. In that case, they would begin the operation the usual way. Just then, Sun Han-soo suddenly stopped Manager Kim, because he had seen the Hexagram rookie sneak into the villa through the back door. At that moment, the furious Kang Kuk-chul was ready to make Ju Gun-sol answer for calling himself fearless. But in the next second, his subordinate brought bad news. The search warrant application had been cancelled. The vice minister also called at that moment and told Kang Kuk-chul to come back first. Causing trouble everywhere without even a search warrant was completely unacceptable, and the vice minister would clean up the rest. Kang Kuk-chul smashed the phone while the call was still connected. He had to admit that Ju Gun-sol had incredible influence. Even South Korea's vice minister treated him with respect. Kang Kuk-chul could only smash the furniture to vent his anger. Public officials were so filthy that it made him sick to his stomach. But before he quit, he would make sure Ju Gun-sol could never act arrogant again. With no other choice, Kang Kuk-chul could only leave with his men. He ordered his subordinates to reverse slowly. They had to drive out as if nothing had happened, so Ju Gun-sol would not realize they had already achieved their goal. Just then, a bodyguard suddenly rushed toward Ju Gun-sol. Kang Kuk-chul immediately ordered them to floor the gas. It turned out Team Leader Han, who had been guarding Minji in the basement, had already been knocked out by the Hexagram rookie. Chief Nam had originally thought Hexagram was weak. After all, they went down so easily that they did not seem like special agents at all. But Kang Kuk-chul had only said Hexagram was made up of experts in different fields. He never said they were good at fighting. Compared to hand-to-hand combat, they were better at searches and covert operations. Minji thought for a moment, then still thanked the rookie. But in the next second, the rookie clamped his hand around her throat. He kept choking her until she passed out. Just to be safe, he knocked Minji unconscious first. Kang Kuk-chul praised him for finally getting smarter and said the guys in the other cars should learn from him. As an agent, completing the mission mattered more than winning a direct fight. They had to move quietly and secretly from behind. At that moment, no one noticed that among the 3 speeding military trucks, Manager Kim was crawling out from under the rear truck. The vehicles were now returning to the Special Service Agency. The agents inside were also curious. Code 66 might have been famous in the past, but why were they still going this far, just to catch him now? The white-haired man explained that South Korea had once reached an agreement with North Korea. It was the first unofficial meeting after the ceasefire, and it had even been requested first by the prideful North Korean side. North Korea had only one condition. They wanted Code 66 sent to North Korea. That was because he had 17 criminal records in the North and had acted as a double agent in the South 5 times. He had escaped prison twice. He attempted to assassinate the North Korean Supreme Commander once, and he had shot at least 49 members of the Korean People's Army. So North Korea could only put him on a wanted list, but South Korea rejected their demand. Because of that, the North Korean Supreme Commander threatened that number 66 had better hide for the rest of his life. After that, Code 66's attempted assassinations of the North Korean Supreme Commander increased to 2. Back then, number 66 learned that he had a daughter, and in order to retire, he became desperate. The top officials urgently came up with one condition. Number 66 had to assassinate the North Korean Supreme Commander one more time. The one-eyed man felt like there was more to the story. He had just started wondering why the blonde man had suddenly fallen asleep. Then a wire quietly slipped around his neck. The white-haired man wondered why everyone had suddenly gone silent. But when he turned around, the very man they had been talking about was already inside the truck. The driver behind them saw the truck ahead swaying wildly and froze in shock. Manager Kim quickly subdued everyone inside the vehicle. Then the truck suddenly began to accelerate. He sat directly on top of the original driver and took over the wheel. The men in the truck behind him were just about to report the situation to Kanguk-chol, but Manager Kim cut them off and asked if his daughter was in their vehicle. "If you dare touch even a single hair on my daughter's head, I will kill you." Kanguk-chol scoffed and said times really had changed. A little spy brat actually dared speak to the director of the Special Service Agency like that. But what could he do now? Kanguk-chol had already arrived at headquarters. The place was filled with fully armed soldiers. Kanguk-chol would wait for Manager Kim together with Min-ji and reminded him not to forget to bring a gift. Hearing this, Manager Kim coldly replied that he would definitely bring him a big one. Kanguk-chol immediately ordered the entrance sealed and more security deployed. He would personally take Min-ji to the underground interrogation room. Kanguk-chol was looking forward to Manager Kim's gift, but no one there noticed that someone was hiding under the car Kanguk-chol had arrived in. Min-ji woke up. She was shocked to find herself handcuffed. Kanguk-chol explained it directly. "Your father is a spy, and a very famous one at that. He knew very well that many people overseas were watching him, so he could not move around carelessly. If North Korea sent intelligence agents after him, things would become very troublesome. But recently, your father has been causing chaos everywhere. After staying quiet for 19 years, why did he suddenly explode? This also seems to be connected to Ju Gun-sol's group. Do you know why?" Min-ji said she had only argued with them, and Ju Gun-sol's daughter did not like her very much. Kanguk-chol thought of how fiercely Manager Kim protected his child and immediately reached a conclusion. He had caused trouble everywhere and turned the whole situation into a mess. And it was all just because of a fight between children? Just then, a soldier informed Kanguk-chol that Ju Gun-sol had gone to meet the vice minister. Min-ji did not understand what these people were talking about, or what they meant when they talked about her father. At that moment, an unexpected figure suddenly appeared. Min-ji froze in shock. The rookie agent across from her immediately turned around to check. Min-ji quickly said she was just looking around. The rookie told her not to get any strange ideas, because no one here would help her. Still, just to be safe, he stepped outside and looked around. But after finding nothing, he completely failed to notice the ghost-like figure hanging above his head. By the time he sensed something was wrong, Song Han-soo's flying kick had already come down. After that, Song Han-soo used the rookie's ID card to enter the interrogation room. "You've been waiting a long time, right? Come on, let's go see your dad." Song Han-soo took Min-ji and ran through the underground passage. There were soldiers everywhere. Just as Song Han-soo was thinking of a plan, another group of soldiers came from the other side. Meanwhile, the vice minister angrily demanded to know what Kanguk-chol was doing. He had lost count of how many messes he had cleaned up for Kanguk-chol. But Kanguk-chol simply said the damages could be deducted from his salary. After all, he was working for the country, unlike the vice minister, who worked while taking bribes. "How much money did you take to cancel the search warrant? Does number 66's daughter know something she should not know?" Hearing this, the vice minister looked at Kanguk-chol and felt he was becoming more lawless by the day. That's rich, coming from someone who kidnapped a civilian and turned the whole situation into a disaster. Kanguk-chol understood that this was a war against former legends. Those people crossed in and out of North Korea like it was nothing. That meant normal methods would never work. They had to send in the security unit if they wanted any chance of catching them. And to prevent them from escaping, Kanguk-chol had also deployed Code 66's junior agents. They were the Northern Operations Team, Baekdu Mountain. After arriving as reinforcements, they immediately reported that an intruder had been found inside the base. Kanguk-chol asked the vice minister if he heard that. Those people were not someone they could take lightly. They didn't even take the special service agencies seriously. Before North Korea made a move, the agency had to deal with them as soon as possible. Kang Guk-chul mockingly asked if Sung Han-soo was the big gift Manager Kim had prepared. But reality was not a movie, so he directly ordered them to take Sung Han-soo down. Facing the enemies rushing toward him, Sung Han-soo launched another spinning kick. But this time, a Baekdu mountain soldier actually caught his attack. Sung Han-soo had to fight while protecting Min-ji at the same time. To Kang Guk-chul, it did not matter if the hostage lost a finger or even an eye. In the moment before death, time can seem to slow down drastically, allowing people to see things they normally could not. Min-ji suddenly saw countless thin wires. In the next second, those wires wrapped around the vice minister's neck. He screamed in terror, asking what Manager Kim was doing and begging him not to do anything reckless. A ghost-like voice ordered everyone to stop moving, unless they wanted the vice minister's head to roll. The first thing Min-ji saw in that crisis was her father's love. Manager Kim had used the chaos to sneak inside. He had to take his daughter home. Just as Kang Guk-chul was about to act, the vice minister screamed for everyone to stop. From this moment on, anyone who moved without permission would be treated as disobeying orders. Manager Kim threatened him and forced him to order everyone to drop their weapons. Feeling the thin wire cutting into his neck, the vice minister quickly shouted for everyone to put down their weapons, saying he would take responsibility. But Kang Guk-chul roared back, asking how soldiers could ever let go of their weapons. Hearing this, the vice minister repeated that ignoring his order would count as insubordination. However, even if they really dropped their weapons, Manager Kim could not escape this place just by taking the vice minister hostage. They had already considered that problem not long ago. With Min-ji beside them, climbing over the wall was impossible, and trying it carelessly would only put them in greater danger. That was why Manager Kim had called in a helper. Kang Guk-chul was still telling him not to waste time. In the next second, a rocket blasted open the wall and sent Kang Guk-chul flying. The war hero, an active special forces soldier, Park Jin-chul, made his entrance. Sung Han-soo kicked away the soldiers blocking the path. He shouted for Min-ji to run. Kang Guk-chul roared at those bastards to pick up their guns and chase them. Park Jin-chul pulled the pin on a grenade and threw it straight toward Manager Kim. The vice minister screamed in terror. Manager Kim caught the grenade with one hand. Then he tossed it right into the pile of weapons on the floor. Now, the soldiers had no guns left. Manager Kim dragged the vice minister toward the exit and warned the soldiers not to move. In war, if the commander died, the soldiers would eventually fall too, so they had better not make a wrong move. Manager Kim had already confirmed the escape route, so he turned to Park Jin-chul and asked if the car was ready. But Park Jin-chul answered honestly that there was no car. Since they said it was urgent and they were following the operation plan, he just grabbed his weapons and ran over. Kang Guk-chul had completely had enough. What kind of commander in this world would order soldiers to drop their weapons? So he used his final bullet to shoot the vice minister himself. Even Manager Kim did not expect that. Kang Guk-chul yelled at the other soldiers and told them to hurry up and catch them. There were only 3 men, and none of them had weapons. But reality was nothing like Kang Guk-chul imagined. The 3 of them just stood there, yet one punch was enough to send the charging enemies flying. They also felt that letting the soldiers go and being chased forever would be annoying, so they might as well deal with them now before leaving. At that moment, Min-ji's blood began to boil, and an overwhelming sense of safety filled her heart. The soldiers of Baekdu Mountain thought these seniors were far too arrogant. The juniors were not weak either, but before the Baekdu Mountain soldier could even react, Manager Kim's fist was already buried in his stomach. In the blink of an eye, countless punches came crashing down. The terrifying power of Jeet Kune Do shocked the other soldiers. They could not understand how this man had suddenly appeared. When Manager Kim heard the word "suddenly," he looked genuinely confused. Were modern special forces really trained like this? His fists moved so fast, they left after images. One punch could send several men flying. Min-ji stared at the scene in disbelief. Park Jin-chul looked at her and said she had really grown up. But to Min-ji, Da-bin's dad had not changed at all. To help Min-ji feel less nervous, Park Jin-chul fought the enemies, while casually chatting with her about school. The picture printed on his shirt was a photo of his daughter, Park Da-bin, an enemy trying to attack from the side. But Sung Han-soo, to took him down with ease. At that instant, a thought flashed through Kang Guk-cheol's mind. Did they accidentally mess with the wrong people? Baekdu Mountain was an elite unit trained to rank in the top 5%. But in the blink of an eye, only 20 of them remained. The next second, that number became 19. And the number kept dropping fast. Kang Guk-cheol could not understand how Jeet Kune Do became this powerful in Manager Kim's hands. Even Taekwondo was crushing everyone. And what was with the guy fighting while answering a phone call? Kang Guk-cheol could no longer understand what was happening. When the last member of Baekdu Mountain fell, only 3 middle-aged men wearing glasses remained before him. Until the moment they took Kang Guk-cheol's car keys, he could not do a single thing. This was a complete and overwhelming defeat. Only now did Manager Kim finally have time to ask if his daughter was hurt. Since she was fine, it was time to go home together. Not long after, the phone on the vice minister started ringing. Chief Nam's call was connected. With his own hidden agenda, Kang Guk-cheol deliberately gave out vague information. Based on the description, Ju Gun-sul made a judgment. The opponent was probably that student's parent from back then. He had heard the man came from Special Forces, but that actually made him easier to deal with, because Special Forces soldiers usually had a fixed level of strength. Aside from the strongest top 5%, the rest were fairly average, and Chief Nam could kill them at any time. A soldier from the central control room had just returned from the bathroom, but when he came back, the entire control room was in chaos, and the security system had been completely disabled. They had been tricked by some singing middle-aged man. Park Jin-chol felt truly sorry for arriving one step late, so he drove Kang Guk-cheol's car straight toward the exit. The gate guards had received no report at all. Only after the soldier who returned from the bathroom gave orders through the broadcast did the guards start firing at the vehicle. But it was already too late. Manager Kim apologized to his daughter. "I was the one who put you in danger, and I was the one who failed to save you sooner. From now on, I will never let go of you again." Park Jin-chol was sorry to interrupt their emotional reunion, but they still needed to buckle up in the back. After all, they had to be good, law-abiding citizens. In the next second, the military truck was suddenly rammed. 4 large trucks surrounded them from all sides. The cargo section of the truck in front slowly lowered. Chief Nam had been waiting for them for a long time. Now, the operation would officially begin. The rear of the military truck was rammed again. Chief Nam planned to smash Manager Kim's vehicle straight into the large truck. Park Jin-chol read his lips and burst out laughing. Did he seriously just say the operation was starting? Kids these days were hilarious. What kind of plan had Chief Nam prepared? Park Jin-chol was actually looking forward to the show. The hijacked military pickup was blocked by 4 large trucks. Chief Nam opened the cargo section of the truck in front, planning to ram Manager Kim's entire vehicle inside. 3 large trucks slammed into Manager Kim at the same time, forcing the whole pickup into the cargo container. Manager Kim instantly had a bad feeling. Chief Nam had created a sealed space, and since he was wearing a gas mask, his goal was clearly to release poison gas. Song Hunsu realized it was sleeping gas. Manager Kim told his daughter that she might pass out soon, but she did not need to worry. No matter what happened, her father would protect her, so she should just think of it as a nap and get some rest. It would be over in about 5 minutes. This time, the gas concentration was extremely high, and everyone inside the vehicle fell unconscious. Chief Nam's men immediately began moving. They planned to inject Minji with drugs and stage everything as a car accident. As for the media, Chief Nam would personally handle it. But just as the cleanup team stepped forward, they noticed that the man in charge of the injection was not moving at all. When they got closer to check, they realized he had already been knocked out. In the next second, the cleanup team was kicked away too. Chief Nam immediately stepped forward to check the situation, but the pickup suddenly started and rammed into another underling. Manager Kim, who had snatched a gas mask, shot Chief Nam a cold glare. Then the pickup began reversing at high speed. It slammed hard into the rear door of the transport truck. After repeated impacts, the back door was finally forced open. Manager Kim gripped the steering wheel tightly. Chief Nam immediately ordered the other vehicles to surround the target. This time, Manager Kim would never let go of his daughter or his family again. Manager Kim successfully avoided being crushed by the truck on the side. The large truck behind him also charged forward at full speed. Manager Kim directly steered the pickup into it. In an instant, the large truck completely lost its balance. Chief Nam could not help feeling confused. This was not the level of an ordinary person. Just then, Manager Kim waved at him. Chief Nam instantly felt a chill run through his body. The giant otter that lives in the Amazon rainforest belongs to the weasel family and is one of the Amazon River's most iconic animals. Its brutality terrifies many creatures in the Amazon, and humans call this animal a predator. Chief Nam came from a multinational mercenary company. As long as they were paid, they could solve anything. That company had a special system called honorable retirement, and the only condition for retirement was killing every former teammate. Because of that, no one could easily escape that hell, and most mercenaries deeply hated the system. But Chief Nam was the only one who had ever achieved honorable retirement. At that moment, Park Jin-chul ordered him to stand at attention. Chief Nam sent him flying with a single punch. His attacks were incredibly fast, yet every strike carried terrifying weight. Chief Nam's fighting style was close quarters combat, and even Song Han-soo was thrown to the ground. For a moment, Song Han-soo was actually suppressed by Chief Nam's knife hand strikes. Park Jin-chul lay nearby, his fate unknown. After taking a heavy blow to the abdomen, Song Han-soo could only hang from the side of the vehicle, barely holding on. Chief Nam gave him some unfortunate news. Your friend took a direct hit to a vital spot under his nose. He is already dead. Song Han-soo finally realized this guy was a true professional. In the underworld, making instant decisions was the most valued ability. Because this line of work always existed on the edge of life and death, quickly judging the situation was the most important condition. And that judgment came from animal instinct, cultivated through countless brushes with death. As a former mercenary, Chief Nam was undoubtedly at the very top level. Chief Nam repeatedly stomped on Song Han-soo's hand. Seeing that things were getting bad, Manager Kim was about to move, but Song Han-soo shouted that he was fine and told him to hurry up and leave with Min-ji. They would handle things themselves. Chief Nam sensed something was wrong. He threw a backhand punch, but Park Jin-chul caught it with ease. Then Park Jin-chul once again ordered Chief Nam to stand at attention. But in the next second, Park Jin-chul actually started snoring and talking in his sleep. He had found the sleeping gas interesting, so he did not resist it. Instead, he tried to endure it with a soldier's willpower. But in the end, he still fell asleep. At that moment, Park Jin-chul was standing on the boundary between the human instinct to sleep and the will to stay awake. His mind was fiercely wrestling with both states. In simple terms, he had entered REM sleep. In other words, Park Jin-chul was dreaming. But no matter how Chief Nam attacked, Park Jin-chul blocked everything. Chief Nam could not land a single punch, so he formed a knife hand strike and thrust it toward Park Jin-chul's chest. In the next second, Chief Nam's body was blasted away by a terrifying force. Park Jin-chul slowly woke up because he felt like someone had just tried to touch Da-bin's face. Chief Nam could not understand what was happening. It felt like he had just been run over by a truck. This power beyond his understanding shattered his prized judgment. Chief Nam still thought it had to be an illusion. He clearly believed he could defeat the opponent in front of him. Park Jin-chul smelled the blood of the battlefield on Chief Nam, but to him, the kid was still green. He beckoned Chief Nam forward. This time, Park Jin-chul would seriously treat him as an opponent and show him what a real man was. Meanwhile, Ju Gun-sol received word that something had gone wrong with Chief Nam. He told team leader Han, who was driving, not to overreact. How could a real man let such small matters affect his work? They just needed to change the destination. Chief Nam still could not understand what was going on. This man was clearly using close quarters combat too, yet Chief Nam could not touch him at all. Close quarters combat was a tactic used to suppress enemies within 30 meters. A terrifying thought suddenly appeared in Chief Nam's mind. After being sent flying again, he finally realized the truth. He did not want to admit it, but this was the difference in strength. If Chief Nam's close quarters combat range was 30 meters, then Park Jin-chul's range was several times greater. Chief Nam could not imagine what Park Jin-chul had gone through to become like this. Today, Park Jin-chul was going to erase Chief Nam right here, because he could not tolerate anyone destroying his friend's happiness. In an instant, a million thoughts raced through Chief Nam's mind. In the end, after recognizing the existence of a truly powerful enemy, he made a choice far simpler than expected. He turned around and ran. It might have looked ridiculous, but when facing a stronger opponent, it was the best possible decision. No prey would ever provoke a predator while standing at a disadvantage. Even Park Jin-chul had to praise him. That was the right call. Even if jumping off the truck broke one of his arms, it did not matter. But sometimes the best choice does not always lead to the best result. Chief Nam's blood ran cold, because he saw Manager Kim radiating overwhelming killing intent. In fear, Chief Nam also felt confused. Was this really the same man who had knelt at the school back then? Then he suddenly wondered, why hadn't he hit the ground yet? Park Jin-chul asked where he thought he was going. He had not even learned how to be a real man yet. As Chief Nam was violently swung around, he could not understand it at all. How could someone have this much strength? In the end, Park Jin-chul grabbed Chief Nam and smashed him hard into the truck container. Even from the outside of the container, a clear face-shaped dent could be seen. Park Jin-chul looked coldly at the fallen Chief Nam. The transport truck arrived at its destination at that moment, and the driver reminded Chief Nam to pay the extra fee for changing the destination midway. Park Jin-chul stuck his head out. He only saw Ju Gun-sul waiting there with a group of bodyguards. Manager Kim arrived right after. He entrusted Min-ji to Park Jin-chul. The rest had to be settled by him personally. Chief Chi told Ju Gun-sul that the man was walking over. In that case, Ju Gun-sul left Manager Kim to him. Chief Chi also walked toward Manager Kim. He introduced himself and asked for Manager Kim's name. Chief Chi received no answer. All he received was an unbelievably powerful strike. After witnessing this, Ju Gun-sul's expression finally turned serious. But Manager Kim had no interest in Chief Chi at all. The other bodyguards still tried to attack. But in Manager Kim's hands, they were all helpless. Not a single one of them could withstand even one punch. Now, Manager Kim asked Ju Hae-ri's father if they could have a little talk. You should have a lot to say to me too, right? Trying to cover up a crime, getting involved in kidnapping, and even working with gangsters. Your methods are far too dirty. As another father with a daughter, aren't you ashamed? In that moment, Manager Kim's words echoed inside Ju Gun-sul's mind. Parents were supposed to be willing to sacrifice everything for their children. Ju Gun-sul realized that the man in front of him was actually the same as him, so he praised Manager Kim for being impressive. He had thought Chief Nam was taken down by some weapon or cheap trick, but it seemed Manager Kim had actually trained in martial arts. Manager Kim looked at Ju Gun-sul, who was still chatting casually, and thought he did not understand the situation. But Ju Gun-sul said the one who did not understand was Manager Kim. You look like you really want to fight. Are you planning to hit me? Then, go ahead and try, but things will only get worse for you. Since you came here as a father to settle your daughter's problem, you should act like one. This is a conversation between fathers. That day, when Manager Kim knelt on the ground and begged for forgiveness, Ju Hae-ri's mother wanted to keep causing trouble. But Ju Gun-sul stopped her and said it was normal for things like this to happen between children. He even helped Min-ji's father up and apologized to him. But all of it was only for a staged photo. When the construction group's reputation got worse, he could upload that photo online to save their image. Back then, Ju Gun-sul looked at the humiliated Manager Kim and said that in South Korea, incompetence is a crime. An old man with no money had no right to speak. That was what it meant to be useless. For someone like that to have a child was not parenting, it was abuse. In the end, it was nothing more than breeding. Now, Ju Gun-sul apologized for those words, because back then, he thought Manager Kim was just a useless man. He should not have humiliated the head of a family in front of Min-ji. So now, back to the main point. Ju Gun-sul invited Manager Kim to work under him for 100 million won a month. They may have met in an unpleasant way, but this was still a very good offer. Looking at Ju Gun-sul's outstretched hand, Manager Kim remembered his wife's final request before she passed away. What Ju Gun-sul said was not completely wrong. As the head of a family, surviving was truly difficult. But Manager Kim believed that becoming a proper father was even harder. Ju Gun-sul had said this was a conversation between fathers. But, in Manager Kim's eyes, both of them were unqualified fathers. So they might as well settle this like men. You can set the rules. I will even go easy on you. Hearing this, Ju Gun-sul took off his suit. He revealed his muscular body. He had clearly already given Manager Kim a chance. A non-stop barrage of heavy punches slammed into Manager Kim's body. Park Jin-chul and Song Han-soo simply watched quietly from the side. Ju Gun-sul had seen plenty of bastards like Manager Kim. They acted tough on the surface, but deep down, they were always afraid of money and power. If he really wanted to settle this like a man, then he should try landing one punch. After that, Ju Gun-sul would make sure he and his daughter lived a life worse than death. That was the power carried by the name Ju Gyeon-sul. In the next second, Ju Gun-sul took a heavy blow to the face. The final request from Manager Kim's wife was for him to abandon everything and live on as Minji's father. If it was to protect this child, then no matter what it took, please do it. No matter what role you have to play, play it. No matter how scared you are, fight until the end. No matter what situation you face, please win. Since Ju Gun-sul was not going to set the rules, Manager Kim would decide the outcome himself. Meanwhile, Ju Hyeri was anxiously waiting for news from her father. But bad news kept coming one after another. Ju Gun-sul was no match for Manager Kim at all. After being brutally beaten, he was sent crashing straight into the river. But it was not over yet. Manager Kim ordered Ju Gun-sul to get up. Weren't you the one who said fathers should communicate as fathers? In that moment, Ju Gun-sul suddenly realized he was feeling shame. He had always stood above others, but now he had become the weaker side, and that feeling was unbearable. It felt like he had returned to his childhood, because back then, he had also been the one getting bullied. Completely outmatched, Ju Gun-sul had no way to fight back. Manager Kim also understood that to deal with someone like Ju Gun-sul, he had to completely crush his pride. Now, Manager Kim taunted him to try and land a hit. After all, right now, Ju Gun-sul could not do anything. Hearing this, Ju Gun-sul finally burned with rage. He told Manager Kim this world did not run on fists alone. His contact list was filled with powerful people Manager Kim could never meet in his entire life. With just one phone call, Ju Gun-sul could ruin him forever. Hearing that, Manager Kim directly called his teacher, and Ju Gun-sul froze, because Manager Kim actually asked if he could make Gun-sul Group disappear. And the other side replied that he could do something close to that. Ju Gun-sul was just about to ask who Manager Kim had called when Gun-sul Group's legal department called him. Since Ju Gun-sul always believed his power reached the heavens, Manager Kim would show him that there was always a bigger fish. Of course, asking his teacher to step in would cost quite a lot, so Manager Kim also asked him to introduce a few ways to make money. After chatting for a little longer, he finally hung up. At that moment, Ju Gun-sul was completely stunned. All of Jeon-sul Group's partners had pulled their investments. He was truly finished. When Minji woke up and saw this scene, she could not even imagine what had happened. Having lost everything, Ju Gun-sul charged forward in rage. But it was nothing more than futile rage. Because against Manager Kim, he had absolutely no chance of winning. Still, Manager Kim had to thank him. It was Ju Gun-sul who made him fully make up his mind. If it is to protect Minji, I am willing to do anything. Morality and guilt are unnecessary things. If I can become a father my daughter is proud of, then it does not matter how pathetic I look on the outside. Song Han-soo asked Minji not to hate her father. He is just bad at expressing himself, but he has always put you first. In truth, Minji had never truly hated her father. This was the first time she had ever heard what was really in his heart. The father who usually seemed weak and indecisive had actually survived all this time through incredible endurance and self-control. Minji had always thought her father did not understand her. But in the end, she was the one who did not understand her father at all. Park Jin-chul felt deeply moved seeing the father and daughter reunite, but unfortunately, he had to ruin this touching moment. He asked Minji if she wanted to hear a secret about her father. Song Han-soo quickly said they could not tell a kid about that. But Park Jin-chul still asked Minji with a sly grin if she knew how her father became friends with them. How did a stubborn old man who could not adapt to society end up with cool uncles like us? Once you hear it, you will definitely be shocked. After all, who we were back then was completely different from who we are now. Manager Kim finally succeeded in saving his daughter. With just one phone call, he made a chaebol collapse instantly. But the price was that he now had to take dangerous jobs to earn money. After dealing with Ju Gun-sul, the police also arrived and stepped in. This time, Manager Kim had made the incident far too big, so Minji had to transfer schools. At least she could use this chance to make new friends, and she no longer wanted to be separated from her father. After some time passed, Minji and her father kept themselves busy, living fully in the present. Manager Kim handled the aftermath of the whole incident while preparing to head to his new workplace. As for Minji, she was temporarily left in Song Han-soo's care. Today, Manager Kim was going to interview at the company his teacher recommended. Rumor had it that the company's director was a legend who had climbed from nothing all the way to the top. He was even stronger than every opponent Manager Kim had faced before. So now, Manager Kim was going to see it for himself. But the moment he peeked inside, his mind went completely blank. Manager Kim had imagined many possible situations beforehand, but he never imagined that the first thing he saw after entering would be such an awkward sight. The company boss awkwardly put on some clothes and said none of the recent interviewees had satisfied him. Even if they were top experts in their own fields, they still were not wild enough. Was it because they had never been to war? The boss asked if Manager Kim thought the same. Although Manager Kim's mind was still blank, he could immediately feel that the man in front of him was ridiculously huge from head to toe. Lee Do-gyu, the director of White Tiger Manpower Agency, announced that the interview would begin. Manager Kim could not help sweating. Was this lunatic planning to stay without pants the whole time? Manager Kim's resume made Lee Do-gyu very interested. But Manager Kim was still trapped in the shock for earlier and had not recovered. That immediately made Lee Do-gyu unhappy. Manager Kim was blasted out with a single punch. Still, he did not care too much. Finding another job should not be that difficult. But when he thought about the mess he had caused, and the fact that even government agencies did not dare casually provoke White Tiger Manpower Agency, especially since director Lee Do-gyu was a monster, he knew that if he could not survive here, Minji would suffer too. With no other choice, Manager Kim turned around and walked back inside. Lee Do-gyu was curious about the national agent record and Baekdu Mountain identity on his resume. And what was with the attempted assassination record? Did he just copy these from random places? Manager Kim told him that if he did not believe it, he could experience it himself. Lee Do-gyu actually told Manager Kim to come at him. In the next second, Manager Kim unleashed a barrage of heavy punches. The powerful blows forced Lee Do-gyu's body to keep stepping back. The company downstairs felt the tremors and became extremely annoyed. The upstairs office got into fights every day, but apparently Lee Do-gyu was the owner of the entire building. At this moment, he had already been sent flying by Manager Kim, but the harder Manager Kim hit him, the more excited Lee Do-gyu became, because such power and endurance were rarely found in ordinary people. Lee Do-gyu once said he needed a professional, so Jo Pyonggam sent him a wild dog. But what annoyed Lee Do-gyu was that Manager Kim did not seem to be fighting seriously. Was he going easy on him just because he was older? That actually hurt Lee Do-gyu a little. Someone from the company downstairs rushed in and yelled at Lee Do-gyu, demanding to know who he thought he was, making all that noise. In the next second, an iron door came crashing down toward him. Lee Do-gyu became curious and asked if Manager Kim was finally ready to use his full strength. Manager Kim suddenly asked if he was allowed to use weapons. After receiving permission, he launched another endless spinning kick. Then came a storm of brutal punches. Lee Do-gyu finally felt a little pain, but it still was not enough. Manager Kim planted his foot hard and drove an elbow into Lee Do-gyu's stomach. Then came another punch, and another. In truth, Manager Kim had no intention of actually using a weapon. After all, this was just a job interview. He could not kill the boss. Jagan Used Car Company had been in business for 2 years, but this hardworking company was now being forced to watch a small war unfold. Lee Do-gyu was curious. Who exactly was Manager Kim trying to kill? After being sent flying by one punch, Manager Kim's expression gradually turned serious. White Tiger Manpower Agency was not some ordinary office that sent people to construction sites. As long as someone paid, they would send manpower for any job. That meant the most important part of the interview was professional attitude. Once someone paid, the mission had to be completed. The people from the used car company were completely stunned. Lee Do-gyu's punches continued to fall like a storm. White Tiger Manpower Agency used a per-job payment system, and they only moved after receiving a deposit. For someone capable, earning tens of billions in a month was not impossible. Lee Do-gyu was becoming more and more pleasantly surprised. Manager Kim was incredibly fast. Manager Kim continued by asking whether there were any employee benefits. The answer was the 4 major insurances, with taxes calculated separately. That was actually a pretty good benefit package. In that case, Lee Do-gyu asked if Manager Kim had decided to join, but Manager Kim found it hard to accept having a hot-headed brawler as his supervisor. Hearing this, Lee Do-gyu suddenly began using more power. The people from the used car company were scared to tears because Lee Do-gyu had actually torn down an entire wall. Lee Do-gyu was curious about what manager Kim thought of this fight. The first round of the interview was passed. The second round was protecting the client. White Tiger Manpower Agency had many protection jobs, so manager Kim had to try protecting this little punk. The used car company worker could feel that he was about to die. If even the edge of a fist grazed him, he would be finished. He desperately begged the older man next to him to do something, instead of just staring at him with pity. Just as the used car company worker was crying his eyes out and thinking he would die right there, he opened his eyes and realized Lee Do-gyu's punch had somehow missed. Lee Do-gyu immediately found it interesting. So this silver wire was manager Kim's weapon. Manager Kim was sick and tired of feeling powerless to protect others. This was a technique that combined close quarters combat with silver wire. Lee Do-gyu froze on the spot. He quickly told manager Kim to wait. If this continued, his expensive furniture would be ruined by the silver wire. The interview was passed, so he needed to stop right now. Just then, Kim Young-chol, the deputy director of White Tiger Manpower Agency, appeared. He brought a new request. This case was big, and it involved the former deputy prime minister for economic affairs. Apparently, his granddaughter had gone missing. The granddaughter was still in high school and she had caused quite a bit of trouble at school. The important part was that she had already been missing for a month. But she kept sending messages to her parents, saying she was doing fine. However, whenever they called her, she never picked up, and only contacted them through texts. That did sound strange, so they decided to let the rookie check it out. Lee Do-gyu directly appointed manager Kim as a manager. Kim Young-chol, who knew how to read the room, had no objection. After all, if someone could destroy the director's belongings and still be given a manager position, that meant he had to be a monster. Yongshin High School was a notorious delinquent school. To the students there, teachers were nothing more than toys. Today, Yongshin welcomed a new teacher. Manager Kim entered the school disguised as a teacher, since that identity would make things more convenient. Manager Kim was just about to introduce himself, but a delinquent threw a chair straight at him. The delinquent, known as Killer, told the new teacher that he was sorry, but this school didn't care about titles like teacher or student. It only cared about fighting. Strength was what decided rank. So, did he want to have a match? Back at White Tiger Manpower Agency, Kim Young-chol wanted to know why Lee Do-gyu had not gone all out during the interview. That was nothing like the director's usual style. The reason was simple. If Lee Do-gyu went all out, what if he scared away White Tiger's new recruit? Back in the classroom, Killer suddenly launched a surprise attack. He clearly felt that his strike had landed. But manager Kim was completely unharmed. Then manager Kim slowly leaned closer. The new teacher simply reminded him to wear his uniform properly. When another delinquent tried to ambush him, manager Kim simply crouched down to tie his shoe. Then, the moment he stood up, he sent the delinquent flying. Manager Kim looked genuinely confused. Two boys aren't allowed to sleep together in class. Lee Do-gyu understood that a man who had already reached the peak of his career could become White Tiger Manpower Agency's trump card with just a little new training. This case did not look like an ordinary disappearance. If they wanted the rookie to learn the basics of the job, they had to let him properly experience the harsh realities of this line of work. The delinquents in the classroom continued attacking, but manager Kim only used the random objects around him to take them all down with ease. Manager Kim could not help feeling helpless. Why had everyone fallen asleep? Once you're done sleeping, return to your seats and pay attention. The first lesson is history. The delinquents felt that this new teacher was strange. He was weirdly calm, yet when he fought, he looked almost possessed. They were trying to hit the teacher, but somehow they kept hitting each other instead. The second period was supposed to be math, but the delinquents had already chased away the math teacher. So the second period would still be Manager Kim's history class. While Manager Kim was using the restroom, he wondered what kind of questions the students had, that they needed to follow him all the way there. They were Yongshin's guardian group, and hunters had to strike when the target was most vulnerable. And for a man, the moment he used the restroom was when his guard was lowest. The Guardians had been waiting for this moment for a long time. At the same time, the former Deputy Prime Minister also received notice that White Tiger Manpower Agency had started moving. Looking at how useless his granddaughter's father was, panicking, just because she had run away from home once, the former Deputy Prime Minister decided he would visit White Tiger Manpower Agency himself soon. But before that, he first questioned Chief Kim. How much do you know about that incident? Does my son know too? Before he even finished speaking, blood instantly splattered. Meanwhile, the Guardian group apologized to Manager Kim in unison. They had no idea Manager Kim was this strong. Manager Kim was looking for someone, so he made them an offer. Once the Guardians turned 20, they would receive their military physical exam notice, and Manager Kim could help with that. He knew people who could help them get out of their military service. Because of that, the Guardians immediately decided to call Manager Kim their boss. What Manager Kim wanted them to do was simple. First, they had to imagine themselves as girls. Hearing this, the Guardians were instantly shocked. Manager Kim also realized that his wording might have sounded a little strange. What he meant was, if they were girls and had gone silent for a month, where would they most likely go? The three of them immediately started talking over each other. She might have joined a runaway group. If it was a girl, the biggest possibility was that she was living with her boyfriend, so she could freeload off him. In a chaotic place like Yongshin, that kind of thing happened all the time. In that case, Manager Kim ordered the Guardians to start from now and find every trace of the girl in the photo. On the surface, they respectfully agreed. But the moment Manager Kim entered the office, they immediately ran because the girl in the photo was Junsang's girlfriend. They did not want anything to do with Junsang, even if that meant giving up their plan to avoid military service. Junsang was a lunatic who had once swung a machete and killed 3 people just to unite the area. Even Manager Kim had to admit that sounded completely crazy. Killer was about to keep explaining. But the moment he turned around, he froze. Manager Kim was standing there, smiling at him. Not long after, the Guardians, now beaten black and blue, apologized again. They really did not want to get involved with Junsang. Manager Kim was curious. Why are you so afraid of this Junsang? Meanwhile, Jang Junsang was punishing his own uncle for cheating at cards. To him, family meant nothing. Even if it was his own uncle's hand, he would cut it off without hesitation. Just then, an underling reported that someone had come to see the boss. They claimed to be underclassmen from his school and said they wanted to ask him some questions about school life. Jang Junsang, completely confused, simply told them to get lost. But the Guardian group shouted that they knew he would never answer easily. So even if they had to fight to the death, they would get an answer from him. The underlings looked at these high schoolers and thought they had lost their minds. Did they have a death wish? Seeing that the Guardians were still smiling, one underling immediately swung his fist. But in the next instant, he was met with a barrage of punches. The underlings who tried to attack were all handled with ease. Only then did the Guardian group finally breathe a sigh of relief. Jang Junsang's men were shocked. What had just happened? And who was this middle-aged man with glasses? To the Guardians, compared to Jang Junsang, Manager Kim, who had crushed a stone statue with his bare hands, was far more terrifying. Manager Kim was getting impatient. He told the boyfriend of the girl in the photo to step forward within 3 seconds. The Guardians had said that Jang Junsang's group was a real criminal organization with clear roles and structure. That meant finding evidence against them would not be easy. To deal with that kind of situation, Manager Kim had specially brought in an expert, and this expert was perfect for handling people like them. By now, Manager Kim had already started counting down. Jang Junsang's underlings saw that he did not look like a cop and thought this would be easy. They could just beat him up and throw him out. But the underling who attacked was sent flying with one punch. The vice boss of the Mabak gang made his entrance. Manager Kim asked the expert he had brought what he thought of these people. The expert sneered that this casino did not even have an iron gate, and the evacuation routes were terribly simple. Only a rural place would run things this carelessly. In the capital area, the police would have raided them long ago. One underling cursed and asked where this bastard had come from. The new Southwestern gang coordinator kicked him straight into the ground. He may have been beaten and hung up by Manager Kim before, but against trash like this, he still completely crushed them. Not long ago, the coordinator had just gotten out of the hospital. He had sworn that once he found those 2 middle-aged men, they were dead. Then, someone in a taekwondo uniform politely asked the underlings to make way. The coordinator instantly froze in terror. Manager Kim told Song Han-soo to hand the phone to that kid. Cold sweat quietly rolled down the coordinator's face. And just like that, he was forcibly drafted by Manager Kim. Jang Junsang's men rushed forward together. But the experts crushed them all. The coordinator would not let Jang Junsang off. After all, it was because of him that he had been dragged to this god-forsaken countryside. Jang Junsang swung an axe straight at him. But it could not reach the coordinator at all, because the coordinator had already calculated Jang Junsang's striking range. Jang Jun-sang had turned off the casino lights earlier. Using the opening when the coordinator threw a punch, he quietly slipped into the darkness. Then, he suddenly attacked from the side with a machete. The coordinator immediately rolled away, but the machete followed right after him. Fortunately, Manager Kim stepped in and handled it in time. Then he casually asked if the coordinator was okay. In that moment, the coordinator finally realized something. Middle-aged men who could fight were way cooler than he had imagined. Jang Jun-sang immediately threw away his weapon and ran. The guardians shouted for Manager Kim to chase him down and kill him, but Manager Kim simply stood in place without moving. Because the coordinator, as an expert, understood that someone like Jang Jun-sang would never reveal the location of his hideout, even if they beat him to death. So it was better to let him live and allow him to walk back to the hideout himself. Jang Jun-sang shoved away the woman inside the hideout. The former deputy prime minister's granddaughter, An Da-young, was extremely unhappy about it. Jang Jun-sang yelled that someone had already tracked her to the factory, so he had to grab the money and run. But just then, Jang Jun-sang's enemies also came in. Soon, Manager Kim and the others followed him there. Now, it was time to finish the request. Lee Do-gyu had said that a runaway granddaughter from a family like that would never be simple. It might involve something much deeper than ordinary crime. The forces behind the former deputy prime minister's family were complicated. Lee Do-gyu reminded Manager Kim to do only as much as he was paid for, and never stick his nose into extra trouble. At that moment, Jang Jun-sang had a knife pressed to his neck by Cross Eyes, who was threatening him to pay back the money. The initial loan was 100 million won, and with interest, the total came to 350 million. Manager Kim apologized. Then he directly interrupted their conversation. After confirming that An Da-young was the former deputy prime minister's granddaughter, Manager Kim grabbed her and prepared to leave. But An Da-young insisted on bringing her boyfriend with her. Still, Manager Kim had no intention of meddling in extra business. At that moment, Cross Eyes asked where this bastard came from and why he was messing around here. She immediately ordered her men to deal with the intruder, but Manager Kim only kicked open a cabinet door and used it to block the underling's knife. Then he smashed the door straight into the thug, taking him out instantly. Only then did Cross Eyes realize that Manager Kim was a real expert. In that instant, a thought suddenly appeared in the coordinator's mind. Maybe he could use this chance to defeat Manager Kim. He had once been a famous gang coordinator in the Hungsung area, but in a single moment, two middle-aged men had broken straight through his defenses. He still could not accept that fact. To make things worse, he was still being dragged around by those same middle-aged men. This was the perfect chance to recover his pride. With Manager Kim's leg temporarily restricted, he shouldn't be able to fight properly. But to the coordinator's surprise, Manager Kim still seemed very capable of fighting. Looking at the knife that had fallen to the floor, the coordinator hesitated over whether he should pick it up or not. After thinking about it, he decided to be careful. The timing was not right yet. Cross Eyes suddenly grabbed a hostage and warned Manager Kim not to move. But before Cross Eyes could even finish speaking, Manager Kim knocked her out with one strike. Then Manager Kim praised the coordinator for doing well. Not acting on that little thought of yours was the right choice. Otherwise, Uncle would have been very disappointed in him. Hearing this, the coordinator cursed inwardly. Could Manager Kim read minds too? He was completely trapped in this man's hands. Soon, the former deputy prime minister received word that his granddaughter had been found. White Tiger Manpower Agency charged more than others, but their efficiency was undeniable. The former deputy prime minister suddenly asked his assistant if White Tiger Manpower Agency could really be trusted. What if they suddenly uncovered the truth? At that moment, An Da-young wanted to know who had sent Manager Kim. In truth, Manager Kim did not know who the client was either. He was simply following orders. An Da-young suddenly asked Manager Kim a question. Do you know the leading cause of teenage death in South Korea? Not long after, her parents hugged An Da-young in excitement. But Manager Kim stood silently to the side. Because just now, An Da-young had said that the real culprit behind teenage deaths was family. And the leading cause of death among teenagers was suicide. In truth, An Da-young deeply hated her family, but Manager Kim directly cut her off. Because An Da-young's family situation had nothing to do with the request. After confirming all the information, An Da-young's father said that since their family had a public official, they had to be extremely careful with their words. So he asked Manager Kim to keep this under wraps. Manager Kim told An Da-young's father not to worry, because White Tiger Manpower Agency could be trusted. Lee Do-gyu held a celebration party for Manager Kim. The huge pile of money included not only the commission fee, but also the money Lee Do-gyu won from betting with Kim Young-chol on whether Manager Kim's first mission would take more than a month. After winning big, Lee Do-gyu called Manager Kim over to eat cake. But Manager Kim declined and got straight to the point, asking what the next mission was. Lee Do-gyu thought his life was seriously boring, but there was no next mission for now. Manager Kim could rest for 3 days and use that time to tie up loose ends. At the same time, An Da-young's father wanted to know why his daughter had run away. And when An Da-young saw her mother reaching out to her, she apologized to her father. She said she just wasn't thinking straight. Manager Kim still felt that something about this case was strange. The mission difficulty did not match the commission fee at all, and the former deputy prime minister's family kept emphasizing secrecy. Even if it was to protect the family's reputation, this was far too extreme. But just as Lee Do-gyu said, Manager Kim did not need to meddle in extra business. He should call Minji first. When Minji heard that her father had actually become a substitute teacher, she could not help laughing. The Guardian group excitedly rushed toward their boss, but Manager Kim smoothly sidestepped them. Then, his expression changed instantly as he asked what they wanted. The Guardians excitedly asked if their boss was planning to dominate this entire area. After all, the journey to find An Da-young had been far too intense. They heard that the so-called compulsive liar had received death threats. That was why she chose to run away from home. At that moment, An Da-young bit hard into her mother's ear. Then, the moment her father pulled over, she bolted. She knew she absolutely could not go back home. Otherwise, she would definitely die. Manager Kim only now learned that An Da-young had supposedly been diagnosed with a mental illness called compulsive lying. He had never heard anything about this before. No matter how cautious a family was, they should not deliberately hide a mental health history when their granddaughter was missing. Manager Kim suddenly thought of a possibility. What if An Da-young did not have a mental illness at all? Kim Young-chol also could not understand it. Lee Do-gyu clearly knew that family had many dirty secrets, so why did he still accept the request? The former deputy prime minister had previously asked Lee Do-gyu to find people who had disappeared from public view. And not long after those people were found, they would turn up dead. But the money was good enough, and Lee Do-gyu did not feel like sticking his nose into extra business. Besides, no matter how bad he was, he probably would not hurt his own granddaughter. And even if he did, that had nothing to do with Lee Do-gyu. He only did as much as he was paid to do. Lee Do-gyu also wanted Manager Kim to see how ugly people could become because of money. He was looking forward to seeing what kind of realization Manager Kim would gain from this case. The Guardians found it strange that their boss suddenly started digging through An Da-young's student records. They did not understand the situation. But this was the first time they had ever seen that look on his face. It looked like something had gone terribly wrong. An Da-young's student records were far too clean. The former deputy prime minister's family had definitely tampered with them. But her class had changed homeroom teachers twice within 1 month, which clearly meant something had happened. From his experience, this tactic was usually used against people who had discovered a secret. Jung Jun-sang felt a headache coming on when he saw An Da-young run back to him. Last winter, An Da-young used buying study materials as an excuse, and secretly checked her mother's credit card statements because she felt her allowance was not enough. After that, she discovered that her mother had been spending money frequently at unfamiliar hotels. That situation was far too suspicious. So An Da-young asked Chief Kim to investigate in secret. But just a few days later, Chief Kim was fired and kicked out of the house. Because of that, An Da-young became even more certain of her suspicions. Her mother must have driven Chief Kim away because she was afraid her affair would be exposed. An Da-young gradually began to hate her mother, and whenever she thought about it, she became even more reckless. Later, after being forced to transfer schools several times, she grew tired of this life and confided her worries to her homeroom teacher. But every single time, it got the teacher fired. In the end, An Da-young decided to collect evidence herself. She secretly backed up the data from her mother's phone onto her own phone. After great difficulty, she finally found a photo taken at a hotel, but the photo only showed food. Just then, her grandfather wanted to have a heart-to-heart talk with An Da-young. He was strict with everyone else, but he had always been very gentle with his granddaughter. An Da-young's heart was instantly torn. She knew that if her grandfather found out, he might kill both her mother and that man. But, under her grandfather's careful guidance, An Da-young still told him everything she knew. When he learned that his daughter-in-law was having an affair, the veins on his forehead instantly bulged. But when he heard his granddaughter say she still did not know who the man was, he let out an imperceptible sigh of relief. In that moment, An Da-young felt incredibly relieved, because her grandfather said he would handle this matter quietly. Now, he needed to see the evidence she had found. Hearing this, An Da-young took out the hotel photo, and that was when she noticed two figures reflected in the spoon beside the food. They were her mother and her grandfather. An Da-young froze on the spot. All the warmth from a moment ago vanished instantly. Her grandfather asked if she had seen it. There was also a VIP card in the photo, and An Da-young's finger happened to be blocking the reflection in the spoon. Her grandfather planned to start investigating from the hotel VIP list. The moment the tense atmosphere eased, An Da-young could not hold it in and threw up. Her grandfather told her not to worry. A scandal like this absolutely could not become known to others. He would use every possible method to handle it, and every person who knew would be completely erased. 20 years ago, when the former deputy prime minister was still Assemblyman An, he had been widely exposed for having numerous mistresses. Back then, his superior scolded him for not even being able to hide such a small matter. He even mocked him for falling sincerely for one of those mistresses. Korean politics was no child's play. His superior demanded that Assemblyman An provide a solution immediately. So Assemblyman An silenced the unimportant mistresses one by one, eliminating public suspicion. And his masterstroke was making the exposed mistress marry his own son. That way, all of Assemblyman An's previous movements with that mistress could be explained. Even his superior could not help praising him as a real talent. But Assemblyman An still had to take responsibility and deal with every person who knew the truth. Then, his superior's car was obliterated by a massive truck. After years in politics, Assemblyman An learned one thing better than anything else. Only the dead could keep secrets. For the sake of his reputation, he would spare no one, not his enemies, not the superior who raised him, and not even his own flesh and blood. At that moment, Jung Jun-sang had no idea where An Da-young found the courage to run back again. He thought this woman full of lies deserved to die. An Da-young did not want things to turn out this way either. But she had nowhere left to go. In despair, she could only pray that someone would come and help her. Kim Young-chol warned manager Kim that he absolutely could not step in to help her. Lee Do-gyu had told him the truth precisely to stop manager Kim from sticking his nose into extra trouble. White Tiger Manpower Agency was not allowed to act without a client's request. The coordinator asked in confusion if his boss was okay. Manager Kim thought of An Da-young. She had once asked him if he could do anything as long as someone paid. Then, she said, there was something she wanted to ask of him. If you ever take on a similar case again, please spend some time listening to that student's side of the story. Do not assume from the start that she is just a spoiled runaway. Maybe she really made that choice because she was in danger. Confused, the coordinator asked where his boss was heading. Didn't that man just say they could not act without a request? But manager Kim had already accepted An Da-young's request. The request was to make sure he found out the real reason she ran away. The deposit would simply arrive a little late. At that moment, Jung Jun-sang was brutally beating An Da-young because the people who came looking for her had made his life a living hell. This time, he had completely pissed off Cross Eyes, including the previous 130 million won in Cross Eyes medical bills. Jang Jun-sang now had to repay 550 million won in total. Cross Eyes threatened him to hurry up and find a way to sell his organs, though even selling every organ in his body still would not be enough. Then, Cross Eyes offered Jang Jun-sang a business deal. It was a cash cow that would generate money on its own. After hearing what Cross Eyes said, Jung Jun-sang suddenly asked An Da-young how long they had been dating. During those 33 days, he had left An Da-young with plenty of bad memories. So next, she could help him do one more thing. He heard her family was loaded. Not long after, manager Kim and the others arrived at Jung Jun-sang's place and searched the entire room, but found no one. Manager Kim noticed the shoes on the floor. They were clearly the ones An Da-young had been wearing. Looking at the signs of a struggle inside the room, manager Kim instantly realized that An Da-young had been kidnapped, and Jang Jun-sang had already called An Da-young's mother. But the voice on the other end belonged to a man. Jung Jun-sang mockingly said that Da-young was not feeling well. They were planning to take her to the hospital, but they did not have any money. If they wanted to save her, they had to prepare 1 billion won. After hearing this, An Da-young's mother collapsed on the spot. The former deputy prime minister originally thought these little punks were staging the whole thing to scam money, so of course, he had no intention of paying. But when he heard that they had already learned from An Da-young about what happened between her grandfather and her mother, the former deputy prime minister suddenly apologized to Jung Jun-sang. He said he would send the money over immediately, and they could talk after meeting. Hearing this, Jung Jun-sang instantly became smug. After hanging up, the former deputy prime minister immediately ordered his assistant. Everyone had to move out. The Guardian Group and the Gang Alliance were also ready. But they were a little curious. Who had their boss been calling for so long? Park Jin-chul had said that those people would come to help. One day, he suddenly found them and proposed a strange plan. The other side did not understand. Was it really necessary for him to step in for a high school kidnapping case? After receiving Manager Kim's confirmation, former Gunsil Group Chief Nam told him not to worry because the enemies were only at an ordinary level. Not long ago, Chief Nam, who came from the world's most brutal mercenary company, and had become an honorably retired soldier by killing all of his teammates, even wondered if he had heard wrong. Park Jin-chul was preparing a new team called Ares, made up of powerful fighters who had survived countless wars. He wanted Chief Nam to join this unstoppable squad. If Chief Nam chose to join, then all the blood debts and bad records from his past could be erased. Park Jin-chul made one thing clear up front. He wasn't there to beg. This was the only way Chief Nam could continue earning Park Jin-chul's respect. Under that pressure, Chief Nam felt confused. After everything that happened between me and your friend, is this really okay? Even Chief Nam himself knew that the things he had done should not be easy for the people involved to forgive. In that case, Park Jin-chul would help lighten the burden on his heart. Manager Kim's new job sometimes required extra manpower. Park Jin-chul had already agreed with him that whenever help was needed, Chief Nam would be sent in. This would also serve as Chief Nam's entrance test for the team. It was truly interesting. People who had once been mortal enemies were now standing on the same side. Park Jin-chul suddenly thought of something. Was this what young people called a redemption arc? The coordinator looked at this new lunatic who was pretending to press an earpiece he didn't even have. For a moment, the two of them began a silent battle of pressure. Just then, an underling reported that everything was ready and they could move out. Jung Jun-sang had also called several underlings in advance. He had even prepared explosives. He promised that once he got the 1 billion won ransom, he would pay them a huge reward. That afternoon, at Jangsan intersection, 15 minutes remained before the ransom handoff. The former deputy prime minister's bodyguard team had already hidden around the area. The commander was watching the surrounding surveillance feeds closely. But suddenly, a group of motorcycles rushed out from the corner. One of them swung a bat, knocking out the bodyguard holding the ransom. The motorcycle behind him immediately snatched the ransom. The commander instantly ordered them to surround that motorcycle. Once Jang Jun-sang confirmed that the money was in his hands, he abandoned his underlings and ran. He had no intention of sharing the money with anyone. With this 1 billion won, he could finally have a bright future. Just as Jung Jun-sang was lost in his fantasy, a motorcycle suddenly caught up to him. The coordinator reminded him that he had forgotten to take his girlfriend's phone. And on those couples apps, both sides can see each other's location. Jang Jun-sang immediately changed his escape route, but the coordinator kindly warned him that taking that road would only make things worse. In the next second, Manager Kim charged out from the overpass. He drifted to a screeching halt, cutting off Jang Jun-sang's path. Then he suddenly leaped into the air. Manager Kim wasn't one to waste words. Where exactly is An Da-young now? Jung Jun-sang screamed in terror that he did not know either. An Da-young had already been taken away by Cross Eyes. She planned to use the moment Jang Jun-sang collected the ransom to sell An Da-young overseas, along with the others. The Japanese Yakuza group, Gyeongsung Kai, arrived late while grinning like nothing was wrong. Cross Eyes told them to stop wasting time. They needed to check the goods immediately. But the men from Gyeongsung Kai turned their eyes toward the man who had suddenly appeared. Not long ago, Manager Kim's group had decided to split into two teams. The less mature ones would follow Manager Kim. Chief Nam would follow Cross Eyes and adapt to the situation. And that choice turned out to be correct. Nice to meet you all. I'm Chief Nam, and I'm here to put an end to this. Kyung Song Kai told Cross Eyes to step aside. They could tell at a glance that Chief Nam was an expert. The action captain, Jokrim, stepped forward. He wanted to personally test Chief Nam's strength. He drove a knee strike forward, and it actually forced Chief Nam to block with both hands. Jokrim's strength was not simple. His attacks were raw and unpolished, but they still carried real destructive power. He seemed to have survived plenty of battles, but Chief Nam could tell for sure that he was still not polished enough. If this was all he had, then he was nowhere near enough to deal with Chief Nam. The gap in experience between them was simply too wide. Chief Nam had already figured out Jokrim's level. He was a one-star threat at best. Next, all Chief Nam had to do was take An Da-young away. But at that moment, Jokrim started laughing. When doing business with Koreans, they had naturally prepared a backup plan in advance. Several Japanese men in white suits stepped out from the shadows. Looking at the badges on their chests, Chief Nam realized they were all executives of Gyeongsong Kai, and these were not the only men Gyeongsong Kai had prepared. Meanwhile, at the 1 billion won ransom exchange site, Gyeongsong Kai had also sent executives there. The twin executives received their orders. Kill everyone at the scene, then bring back the 1 billion won. Jokrim suddenly asked Chief Nam if he had ever seen the spirit of Bushido. It was a spirit of putting one's life on the line. They always fought with the resolve to die. How could a Korean like him ever understand? In the next second, a katana pierced straight through Jokrim's body. The blonde executive coldly remarked that Jokrim should have stood a little farther back. That way, his blade would have pierced through both Jokrim and the enemy, instead of only disabling one of Chief Nam's arms. Still, at least the enemy no longer had a hostage. Sacrificing oneself for Gyeongsong Kai was the true spirit of Bushido. With tears streaming down his face, the blonde executive said he would never forget Jokrim's resolve. Chief Nam could immediately sense that this blonde man was a highly dangerous opponent. Meanwhile, the coordinator on Manager Kim's side wondered where these Japanese men had come from. In the next second, a blade sliced right past his face. As the tip darted straight for his eye, the coordinator shuddered in terror. These Japanese men were absolute psychos. After killing everyone, they could simply flee back to Japan. That was why they acted without any restraint. For the coordinator, this was no longer about winning or losing. His steps gradually became hesitant. After all, a single stab would be the end of him. This was a completely unfair fight. Just as cold sweat poured down the coordinator's face, he caught sight of Manager Kim. Then he suddenly remembered something. Manager Kim was on his side. When a fake madman meets a true monster and realizes he is standing on the edge of death, he instantly turns back into a normal person. Manager Kim hadn't even raised his hands into a fighting stance. Was it confidence, or had he made a mistake? In truth, it was neither. That relaxed posture itself was evidence, proof of an absolute, unmatched power. Gyeongsong Kai was the largest Yakuza organization in Western Kansai, and its main business was human trafficking. The organization had a strict hierarchy. The first rank consisted of action captains. They always fought on the front lines and were treated as expendable pawns. The second rank was the executive group. Each executive commanded their own team and wore an official badge. Of course, even executives of the same rank could have very different levels of strength. A white badge represented an ordinary executive. Executives with exceptional fighting ability wore black badges. Gyeongsong Kai's founder, Sasaki Genji, constantly brainwashed his subordinates. He ordered them to keep strengthening the organization's combat power until their human trafficking empire expanded into South Korea. And whenever they dealt with cunning Koreans, they could never let their guard down. They always needed a backup plan, because the founder knew South Korea was filled with hidden experts. Back at the dock, the members of Gyeongsong Kai stared in disbelief. One of their own executives was actually fighting the enemy to a standstill. The Gyeongsong Kai executive realized that Chief Nam appeared to be using military close-quarters combat. But why would a soldier appear in a place like this? Fighting with only his right hand was clearly putting Chief Nam at a disadvantage. The moment another executive tried to ambush him from the side, Chief Nam instantly entered close-quarters combat. Just as his fist was about to land, the blonde executive suddenly told him to wait. That fighting style allowed the blonde man to recognize Chief Nam as a former member of Chenho mercenaries. Chief Nam had almost failed to notice the blonde executive's presence earlier. And with just one sentence, the blonde man made everyone at the scene stop moving. That alone proved he was the strongest person there. The blonde executive revealed that he had also come from Chenho mercenaries and suggested they have a proper conversation. After all, Chief Nam was not exactly in good condition. He asked if Chief Nam had come to rescue one of the buds. Chief Nam remained silent. Seeing this, the blonde executive knew his guess was correct. Now he was curious about who Chief Nam had come to save. Who could possibly be important enough to send the famous former Chenho expert? Was it this person? Chief Nam understood that the blonde executive was testing him. All he had to do was remain completely unmoved. When Chief Nam still refused to speak, the blonde executive immediately killed the hostage in his hands. In that case, she would simply have to test them one by one. After all, to them, it made no difference whether the merchandise was alive or dead. Even when the blonde executive killed the person beside An Da-young, Chief Nam showed no reaction. He knew he had to remain calm. His opponent was also an expert, trained by Chenho mercenaries. He absolutely could not allow the blonde executive to read his thoughts. Chief Nam had to maintain a perfect poker face, but the blonde executive still caught the subtle shift in his composure. That meant this woman was probably the target. Chief Nam knew he had just tipped his hand. This was now the worst possible situation, and he had no clear way out. His mind began racing at full speed. Then, masking his panic, he told the blonde executive to stop wasting time. The reason my thoughts became complicated has nothing to do with this woman. Chief Nam had to take this gamble. He slowly pulled up his pant leg, revealing the one thing that could break the deadlock. Meanwhile, Manager Kim was racing toward the port. Jang Jinseng had only arranged to meet Cross Eyes after the deal was finished. All he knew was that the location was somewhere near the port. But the entire area was surrounded by the sea. Manager Kim's group was practically searching for a needle in a haystack. The coordinator cursed inwardly. They should have questioned Jung Jinseng more thoroughly. At the very least, they should have taken the 1 billion won. But Manager Kim knew that staying there any longer would only cause more trouble. At that moment, Jung Jinseng was desperately crawling toward the ransom money. Just then, the former Deputy Prime Minister's assistant tracked him down using the locator hidden inside the ransom. The former Deputy Prime Minister himself would also arrive soon. The assistant, who had been ordered to eliminate Jung Jinseng, suddenly noticed the dying Japanese men on the ground. He immediately realized that this situation was more complicated than expected. The manpower they had brought might not be enough. The former Deputy Prime Minister asked if Lee Do-gyu had heard everything. White Tiger Manpower Agency still needed to provide proper after-sales service. Lee Do-gyu immediately called Manager Kim, but the phone showed that he was already on another call. Manager Kim obtained the target's location with just one phone call. And it was all thanks to Park Jin-chul. The device he had attached to Chief Nam's ankle was supposedly a special symbol of honor for Aries. It looked exactly like an electronic ankle monitor, and its function was not much different either. It could track the wearer's satellite location 24 hours a day. Park Jin-chul proudly added, "My daughter designed it." Chief Nam thought this man was seriously not normal. When would something like this ever be useful? If that day ever came, it would definitely be the worst day of Chief Nam's life. An underling told the blonde executive that it was an electronic ankle monitor, a mark of human trash that sex offenders in Korea were forced to wear. Chief Nam calmly said, "I am a criminal now. Why would I come here to rescue someone?" The only reason my expression changed earlier was because this woman happens to be my type. Chief Nam knew it was an absurd lie. But right now, every second he could buy mattered. For a moment, the blonde executive could not tell whether he was lying or telling the truth. But that was not the important part. The blonde executive asked why Chief Nam had only thought of mentioning this now. He needed to provide a convincing answer. The blonde man was also wondering whether he should play along with his game. Chief Nam smiled and said this was not the time to start killing people. The police, monitoring my ankle bracelet, are tracking my location right now. Chief Nam's position really was being tracked, and the person following that signal was extremely dangerous. Manager Kim's team had already reached the correct location. It was time to put an end to this. Chief Nam single-handedly took down the other members of Gyeongsum Kai. Even the blonde executive had to admit that he was impressive. But during the fight, The blonde man also realized that Chief Nam's ankle device was not the kind worn by criminals. So, why had he pretended to be a criminal just to stall for time? Chief Nam coldly replied that it was because he came from Chenho mercenaries. Doing everything possible to complete a mission was simply a mercenary's instinct. The blonde executive sincerely praised the rising star of Chunho for having real backbone. He then invited Chief Nam to join Gyeongsan Kai. But when Chief Nam remembered the offer Park Jinchul had made him, he still rejected the blonde executive's invitation. The blonde executive also deeply respected a man's resolve. But right now, he was in the middle of a mission. It was an honor for him to meet Chief Nam here. The moment he finished speaking, the blonde executive began gathering his strength. Chief Nam immediately braced himself. But when the blonde man swung his sword, the incredible speed of the slash left Chief Nam stunned. The blonde executive was curious about what made that woman so valuable, and who else would come here to rescue her. Chief Nam could clearly feel how powerful the blonde executive was. This man might actually be capable of threatening Manager Kim. The port was filled with countless ships. Searching them, one by one, would take far too much time. The most suspicious one was the large ship directly ahead, and whatever came next would be extremely dangerous. Manager Kim told everyone else to go back. The coordinator was immediately shocked. Manager Kim had simply walked out into the open, even though he was not the reckless type. But the Guardians seemed to understand the reason behind it. When police cars rush to a crime scene with their sirens blaring, it is partly because they hope the criminal will hear them and stop in time. The criminal might escape after hearing the sirens, but protecting the victim's life always comes first. And now, Manager Kim had already sounded his siren. The battle officially began. By then, Chief Nam had already been strung up. The blonde executive wondered why it had suddenly become so noisy outside. Had the Korean police arrived? But when he stepped out of the ship, he saw only one middle-aged man standing alone against every member of Gyeongsam Kai. But overwhelming Manager Kim with numbers was completely meaningless. The blonde executive drew his sword and joined the battle. His blade collided violently with the silver wire, producing a deafening metallic screech. The blonde executive curiously asked if he was the Chenho Jr.'s companion. Such loyalty was truly touching. But that Chenho Jr. was already at death's door. The blonde man had deliberately avoided destroying Chief Nam's tracking anklet. He wanted to see who else would follow the signal. But the only person who fell into the trap was just some retired, middle-aged man. Just then, the blonde executive finally noticed that the silver wire had already wrapped around his hand. Manager Kim corrected him. They were the ones who had walked into a trap. As the strongest person here, he had actually dared to leave Chief Nam alone inside. That proved his judgment had failed. Chief Nam immediately choked out the approaching Gyeongsam Kai member. Then, he snapped the ropes binding him. The remaining members tried to take the hostages, but Chief Nam exploded into close-quarters combat and overwhelmed them instantly. Finally, Manager Kim added one more thing. I haven't retired yet. I'm still active duty. Mercenaries were much harder to control than regular soldiers. They sometimes committed brutal acts, such as looting. And because of their high cost and the complications of international law, they might not even receive basic humane treatment if captured. Even so, people still chose to hire mercenaries. That alone proved how powerful they were, and how reliably they completed their missions. This was especially true for an expert like Chief Nam. He quickly brought the entire fight to an end. Now, all he had to do was take An Da-young away. But An Da-young suddenly started screaming. She genuinely believed Chief Nam was a sex offender. Her sheer lack of common sense was enough to give anyone a headache. Chief Nam knew this really was the worst day of his life. Just then, another figure speaking Japanese appeared. The place was far too noisy. It had even woken him up. Meanwhile, Manager Kim's battle was still ongoing. The blonde executive suddenly leaped backward because both of his pinky fingers had been severed, and Manager Kim seemed to have done it on purpose. He had heard that leaving a Yakuza organization required cutting off a pinky, so he kindly helped the blonde man retire, free of charge. The blonde executive finally acknowledged Manager Kim's strength. Although this man was already old enough to retire, his skills were still at an active duty level. The blonde executive decided to use everything he had to defeat Manager Kim. He began gathering his strength once again. This was no longer a fight between ordinary people. It was a battle between experts where a split second could decide the winner. Their worlds were separated by only the thinnest line. The blonde executive instantly opened his close-quarters combat zone. But Manager Kim stepped directly into it. At that distance, the blonde man had more than enough room to swing his blade. In the next second, Manager Kim's glasses were sliced apart. The blonde executive burst into laughter, believing he had finally humiliated this hateful Korean. Not only was his sword broken, but Manager Kim had also snatched his sunglasses. Manager Kim wanted to ask him something. "You keep calling us Koreans, but are you talking about the South or the North?" The blonde executive simply roared and charged again. He was determined to kill Manager Kim. Just then, a voice from the large ship called out to the blonde man. His superior angrily asked how he could fail at transporting just a few Koreans. And what was this thing? Why was a fly buzzing around inside the ship? The blonde executive immediately bowed his head and apologized profusely. But Manager Kim smashed him into the ground with one punch. Then he looked up at the giant fly on the ship. "Who are you? Get down here." Gyeomsong Kai's strongest fighter, Hanma Yonghui, became curious. Was this man talking to him? Because Hanma Yonghui didn't speak a word of Korean. At that moment, an underling reported that Interpol had already received the information. They could not afford to delay any longer. This was exactly why Hanma Yonghui hated business trips. Something troublesome always happened. He ordered every member of Gyeomsong Kai to withdraw immediately. Anyone who could not make it back in time would be abandoned. But before leaving, they had to show the remaining Koreans the true essence of the Yakuza. The Gyeomsong Kai cleanup team stayed behind to handle the aftermath. Manager Kim carved a path through them at unbelievable speed. Then he jumped directly into the sea. By then, the severely injured Chief Nam had already lost consciousness. Just as Manager Kim tried to carry him back toward the surface, the cleanup team members jumped in after them. They had deliberately tied heavy objects to their bodies. This was a suicide attack, the ultimate Yakuza creed of showing no fear of death. Manager Kim gripped his blade and repeatedly stabbed these lunatics, but there were still many more enemies to deal with. The cleanup team on shore continued launching suicide charges. Soon, something began floating to the surface. The cleanup team leader thought the operation had succeeded, but in the next second, a blade pierced straight into his head. The sight before them was almost impossible to believe. Manager Kim was nothing short of a monster. Reinforcements arrived at that moment. The Guardians immediately helped pull their boss out of the sea. Just then, the large ship began to move. Manager Kim was already too late to catch up. The members of Gyeongsong Kai on board were moving quickly. They were packing the dead bodies in ice to preserve them. But Hanma Yonghui failed to notice that uninvited guests had entered the office behind him. Shin Sung-ho and one of the Guardians had secretly slipped onto the ship. They had not expected it to depart so quickly. Just as the Guardian was about to quietly jump overboard, Shin Sung-ho stopped in front of the office desk. He swallowed hard, because a gun was lying right there on the desk. Shin Sung-ho suddenly asked the Guardian, "Do you want the boss to acknowledge you?" Since they could not defeat Manager Kim, and could not even escape from him, then they might as well earn his approval instead. Shin Sung-ho invited the Guardian to write a new chapter in history together. He was terrified, but at the same time, his blood was boiling with excitement. An unfamiliar feeling surged through his entire body. The Guardian only needed to follow behind him. Shin Sung-ho would handle both hijacking the ship and piloting it. Having a license did not matter. He knew how to ride a motorcycle, and for a man, that was more than enough. From now on, Coordinator Shin Sung-ho would have everyone's back.